Get what you.
Okay, guys, I just went live, FYI. Okay.
He's in chat. Hi, NSP. I said hi to you, by the way, Singing Lion, but we weren't live. Like, we weren't on yet. But hi.
What's up, Prince? How you doing, man?
Everybody's here. The whole crew.
You get my Smash invitation? Everybody's here?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Honestly, don't know anything about it. Haven't really thought about Remake that much.
I never heard a remake. I just got this random sword from some guy.
Yeah, dude.
I don't know.
Gotta go.
I don't know what that is.
He's shouting out, by the way, for those who can't hear Babyseal.
I'm not muted. No, I just talked. I was just miming audio for everybody to pretend like I was part of this.
He was stretching his jaw muscles before we get into some real strenuous conversation here. Yeah.
He's just exercising, dude.
It's karma because I threatened to mute Sleepezi if he dominated this conversation, and so there we go. Rimavel, they are an incredible artist, and popped in just to say hi because they are on Central Europe time, so it's like 3 or 4 in the morning there. So I really appreciate them just popping in and saying hello. Wow. And if you check my Twitter, you can see their incredible art of me, and look them up on Twitter and throw a bunch of money at them because they can put out some real quality art real quick.
It was really
that's
cool.
my pitch for Rimavel before they have to go to sleep, etc. And I hope you sleep easy.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Wow.
All right. Well, I'm the oldest guy here. Okay, so I have to do all the dad humor. I think I'm the oldest guy, unless maybe Blitz is a ageless miracle.
When I was younger, I was always viewed as much older than I actually was, but I think I might be younger than you guys.
Maybe. Are you younger than me? Oh God.
I don't know what you look like, so I'm gonna say I might be slightly older.
I'm gonna say I'm 28. I don't.
I'm 28. I'm 28 also.
Oh my God,
guys!
My birthday was 2 months ago.
No way! Happy birthday! Happy birthday!
Thank you.
That's awesome. I'm a little older. My birthday was in August, so just coming up again, and that's just great.
NSP is 29. He's a year older than both you.
Yeah,
I found out his name is Ryan last night. My name is Brian. That's so cool.
Whoa, we got a lot of Brian.
Yeah,
we're gonna have to.
Sleepezy's real name is Giant. It's weird.
It's so weird. How did that work out?
Yeah,
and then Mig, I can't even say that name. Mig Jason, is that what that's supposed to be? That's fun, fantastic name. Thanks for the follow.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
You.
We're just gonna read chat for the rest of the stream.
We don't even need, I think, to talk about Remake.
At this point. I wanted to know because, all right, well,
thank you for the thank you, Crab _A.
Yo, shout outs to Andrew B. That's one of my mods, one of my first mods.
Oh,
on the channel.
Thank you.
Representing, yo. Appreciate you dropping by, Andrew.
So, okay. I think it's only fair that we give the viewers what they want. First of all, hey, thank you so much, Blitz, for coming on. We've been aware of you as you've been rising into power on the remake scene. But obviously you've been. But honestly, you've been doing this stuff for quite a while. But most recently, I think you kind of came into my field of view because a bunch of people told me that you should be, and it relates specifically to Intergrade. You had you're one of the first to popularize a particular theory that we will go over during this discussion. but I wanted to, one, just say, hey, thank you so much for being here. And B, 1 and then B are both numbers and they are sequential. So, B is the remake version of 2, just FYI. So I just wanted to say that you have been nothing but absolutely like the most pleasant human being to like converse with in general. And so just know that that means a lot coming from me, because I'm not a particularly liking guy. So I'm gonna give you the floor and let you introduce yourself and talk about what you do and what you love in your life.
Oh man, thank you so much. First of all, it's an honor being here. I said in a recent video of mine, it really feels like a blessing to finally connect with other Final Fantasy content creators, because over the last year, it's really just been, kind of like rolling solo in a way. I haven't really been using social media. I haven't had a chance to connect with anybody else. Really and truly, it's been a crazy ride. My channel predominantly over the last few years has been focusing on fighting games and just playing like lots of like different fighting games. I loved, well, first things first, back in like 2011, I think I had followed like Maximilian Dude. And he's been a heavy influence on like me with fighting games, putting me onto all kinds of different ones. From like, I was never really a Street Fighter fan. I started playing Street Fighter because of him. I got really good or decent at Marvel vs. Capcom because of him. And I really just loved his energy. I loved his style of content and just the way he made fighting games much more popular than they were for a long time. And over time, I wanted to kind of like emulate that. So I started making videos on... Well, actually, I'm lying. My first video on YouTube was Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. I'm a big Yu-Gi-Oh! Fan, so I started making like mobile videos with like the gacha game, the Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links game. And then slowly but surely, I started doing Dragon Ball Fighters, Injustice, started doing more Mortal Kombat and Smash Bros. Ultimate. And then I love fighting games. It's just one of those things that I think is so interesting, like a one-on-one contest against another person, like feeling out their moves and what they're going to do next and try to predict it before they could, and breaking that down for people and teaching people that don't know how to play fighting games and more or less button mash to understand how to actually do combos and like read people and stuff. And it's just a cool, like atmosphere in a sense. So one thing led to another, and fighting games just weren't really popping off at the moment. And I was super out of like Smash Bros. I couldn't deal with their online. So when I heard Remake was coming out, man, I'm one of the biggest like Final Fantasy VII fans. And I still have, I'll locate it during the stream somewhere, but have my original copy that I got from a friend, because I lost my original copy and he bought me another one. And I was super excited about that. Yo, it's so dope. And when Remake came out, I wanted to focus on making videos like how to play as these characters, because a lot of people weren't using them in a way that I was like, yo, Tifa is insane in this game. She fights like a fighting character. Yeah. So I think her video did really extremely well, and it brought most of my viewers to the channel and showed off more of Barrett, who everybody thought was a one-dimensional character. But once you slap like the claws, like the melee weapons on Barrett's, oh my god, it transforms his gameplay into beast mode, especially if you use like enemy skill with HP absorb, and it's like he doesn't die, like he stays alive no matter what. He's a friggin' tank, and I love that aspect about it. So it was a really cool thing, like being able to translate what I did with fighting games into an action RPG, so to speak.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just been a great ride, and like now I'm like, I've been dabbling a little bit here and there into like news and like theory videos, and obviously because I feel like I've done as much as I could within the content sphere for like combat and Remake in a way. So I wanted to like step out of that element and try to do more news and stuff like that. And here we are, and I'm sitting here with a bunch of legends.
Oh, God.
Awesome.
Likewise, 100%. It's funny to hear you speak so highly of. I know that you're just from following your channel. Like I saw that like the fighting game background, but it's so funny because I have a very similar story in terms of like this stuff too, where I predominantly came from that background before making content. I just took the opportunity, sort of like you, once Remake became a thing, to actually start pulling the trigger, like Josh Kim just did.
Josh Kim, thank you so much.
Shout out to Josh for the gift subs. That's another mod on my channel. Yo, Josh, way to represent, dude.
Yeah, you guys, nice community.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just
you guys are always welcome.
Yeah. The doors always.
Blitz is a permanent fixture on the show now. Look at that.
Hey, I'm happy to be here, guys.
Yeah, but it's really cool to be able to talk to you because, again, sort of echoing what Babyseal said at the beginning of this, only good has come from interactions with you, and it's just a real pleasure to actually sit down and talk shop, so to speak, or just in general about whatever. So regardless of Final Fantasy VII or not, the fact that you mentioned Yu-Gi-Oh, fighting games, and Remake in your opening, I'm like, those are all points.
Yeah, it's very on brand for you.
Yeah, I'm not known, but yeah, I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh myself. So
nice.
Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit, Sleep?
Yeah, sure. I am Sleepezi. I started about a year ago making theory videos on Final Fantasy VII Remake, called that series called The Structure of 5, which sort of goes over Crab A. Jesus, guys, thank you. I'm just saying it for him. You know, he's losing his mind. But the so. Sorry, that totally threw me off. Thank you very much. You guys are super generous.
It happens to me all the time. I'll be in a deep thought, and then somebody will do some crazy shit like this on stream, and I'm like, "What the hell was I talking about, guys?"
Yeah, exactly. The gratitude starts flowing up, and it's like, But yeah, it's I started the Structure of 5 series, which mainly handles a lot of the details of how the ending of Remake sort of translates into the larger, expanded universe of Final Fantasy VII in the compilation, and how that all sort of connects together to make sense where it might not have for a lot of people. So, and I continue to do that. I continue to make theory videos and just discussing sort of especially with Intergrade coming up and the mobile games. Those are mainly my focus as of right now. So yeah, very, very happy to be here, a part of this community, and echoing what Blitz said, just nice to be able to connect with other people making similar content, or just people who are in love with the game. So thank you for having me again, as always, Clark.
Always. You have a standing seat on this show. So,
I appreciate that.
I am Schrodinger's Babyseal, otherwise Babyseal, but they're gonna call me Clark because it's a mouthful. I have some videos coming out. I've been working for a long time, like it's almost a running joke at this point, on a series of videos called the Trees of Life and Death, and I had some stuff get in the way of that based on my former employer, sort of non-disclosure sort of stuff that I'm now past, but I will be releasing those after Intergrade releases. But I am very excited to announce, in a completely non-April Fool's way, a series of videos where I deconstruct popular remake theories. Next week, Wednesday, will be premiering my first video titled Tifa Dies, and we'll go from there. So I'm excited to just produce some simple video content like that. I also wanted to start this show called SEAL Team 7 as a method to sort of actively and competitively discuss theory crafting. I like the idea of these roundtable theory crafting discussions with a ton of big brains and galaxy-minded individuals. And it's also a way, I think, to bring the community together, because I love the community. I really do. Some of the best people I know because of this weird fandom, because of liking a video game, as weird as that is. And I've met some really quality people along the way, and might get misty even talking about it because it's really, I mean, it helped me get through, one of the roughest years of in human history, really. And this community's just been great. And there's also been some bad stuff, I think, that's happened in the community, and I think this is a way to proactively bring us together in a positive way, and shine a light on the things that aren't good, and shine a light on the things that are good, too, and move us forward. So I want to take this opportunity, one, to thank Night Sky Prince, who's in the chat, and he's moderating for us, and he had an unbelievable conversation this morning with Final Fantasy Peasant, who we're trying to get on this show soon, and he's agreed to it, but in a Final Fantasy Peasant sort of way. So
what does that mean? He will be here, but in spirit?
I don't know. You know how it is. Like it's like he said he wants to do it, but
I feel like he would be happy
happen.
To be
it'll happen eventually. It'll happen to be. But so Night Sky Prince is a member of the community, and a huge inspiration to me, and he's always welcome here too. And I really appreciate the help he gives me in everything. Like he's taught me how to upscale the shit out of everything. I've been just upscaling things that I don't even need to upscale, just because that guy knows how to upscale stuff. I also each of these episodes I'm going to be featuring an artist for my layout, and today's artist, both in this slide and the previous slide or previous scene, is C78. And in the fantastic artist, and in the YouTube VOD, when this comes up, I will have a link to ways that you can support him as an artist. And so if you guys know of any great fan content artists that would like to have their art featured on my show, feel free to reach out. Because I would love to do this community is so big and so broad, because it's a nearly 25-year-old fandom. So I would love to include some of the beautiful things that people have created as a result of this shared experience of a video game. So with that, I think we can probably just call it a day. Later, guys. I think we kind of talked about everything we needed to talk about.
Oh, yeah. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and ring the bell.
Ali D, some of Pez's are a little much for me. I've never heard that complaint before. You
can't see my head, but I'm shaking it very violently.
I'm you know what he showed me in the interview with Night Sky Prince is that he's an incredibly personable guy, and he doesn't actually take himself that seriously, and I think that's a really good way to be. Ray Kaufman and I have been talking, and he's definitely interested. It's going to happen one of these times. So Kaufman is another. He's a wild theory crafter, just very wild, but he has some fun stuff. And I'm sure our good friend Mike Gallagher is going to be joining us pretty soon on one of these too. So let's talk about Intergrade. Blitz, I'll be honest, the main thing that got everybody talking about you and your theory crafting content, because I've kind of known you as like an informative and more news kind of guy. With the I've actually seen some of your Barrett gameplay videos and stuff like that too, and I've kept up on the actual news stuff that you do too. But you've kind of hit like your stride. Like I'm starting to hear about you on Reddit, and Reddit is kind of like the great diffuser of theory content. Like only kind of like the cream of the crop will make it to my ears through Reddit, and it involves the fate of Jesse, Wedge, and Biggs, and their relationship to a certain character that's showing up in DLC. So do you want to give your rundown on why you think... oh my goodness. I know that news. Oh, wow. Oh, I got hype trained. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, you did get hype trains.
Whoa,
thank you.
Beautiful.
It's amazing.
Beautiful.
Oh.
So, why don't you tell us what you think happens to Yuffie and Avalanche as a result of Yuffie's involvement, and then Sleepezi and I will tell you why you're wrong.
I was about to say, are we going to go around and just discuss, because this is, I think, a pretty divisive, not divisive in like a very public way, I think, but like anytime Jesse's ever brought up, I won't talk long, just so you don't have your mute button.
Oh, it's there.
The thing I was going to say is that like Jesse Biggs, I never really thought that it was going to be such a divisive subject until you bring it up. And then there's this whole other level of conversation that comes with it. So I'm personally just excited to
I'm excited to talk about it too. And I'm not even saying that I disagree, but it is a surprisingly spicy topic. So for sure. And I do very much respect the take that's about to be presented. So, keep in mind, I'm a fairly sarcastic guy. And all that stuff. I'm not nice like you, Blitz, for fuck's sake. Okay, Blitz, go.
So, I genuinely, during the initial gameplay, I was like, wait, some stuff is happening here, right? And the first thing that when I was playing through Remake the first time, I'm like, if Wedge fell through this, if he fell through this friggin' hole, right, during the whole Sector 7 collapsing thing was going on, how the hell did he end up so far down the tunnel? Like, why is he all the way over here? And it didn't make sense to me. I'm like, his cats ain't drag him there. I mean, there's 3 of them, but holy shit, he's big as hell. There's no way he made it all the way over there. So it one thing led to another, and then when I saw what Yuffie was being implemented, I'm like, oh, the same night actually that reaction, that state of play, I think it was, that showed it off.
Yeah,
I was like brainstorming. I wrote up like 4 scripts that night, and I was like, I need to get this all out, or else I'm not going to sleep.
Yeah.
So I was like, it makes sense, because I really don't think he would have been able to get that far ahead into like that facility, the deep ground facility, without it. So what I thought initially, or what I still think, at least until I get to hear what you guys think about it, and maybe you guys will sway me in a different direction. I'm always interested in seeing that, by the way. I'm not a closed-minded individual. I love seeing different ideologies, and I love getting my opinion changed, or changing my opinion to something else.
And so far, you've already brought up some pretty interesting points that I haven't thought about.
Yeah, good points.
Yeah. So essentially, it's just that Yuffie obviously is coming to Midgar to steal apparently the ultimate materia, as far as like Square writes it on her bio, from Shinra. And we don't know exactly where that is, if it's going to be in Shinra HQ, or is it technically underneath the facility in Sector 7? I don't know. But she teams up with Avalanche, and I was thinking during her time working with this Avalanche cell, she comes across and meets the members that we know with I don't know if she'll meet Jesse, but she meets like Biggs, Wedge, because they're there. And Jesse, I think at this point, her foot is like broken or something like that, or her ankle is like sprained.
Yeah.
So maybe they connect with each other. And later on in the story, right? Later on, when all the crazy stuff is going on in Sector 7, Sonon and Yuffie show up to help them out. And right after Cloud and Tifa go up to the top to fight against like Reno and Rude, they come up in there and they swoop and they save Biggs and they save Jesse. And I guess when they return them to the other people in Sector 7.
Okay, wait. Now, can I just stop you on one thing? When you say save Jesse, do you mean save like alive, or do you mean return the corpse?
Return the corpse.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
She looks kind of like pale in the face, right?
Yeah, she's done in my opinion. But that's again.
Okay, go on. We can.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I needed to clarify that point.
Yeah. No worries, man. Appreciate that. And one thing leads to another, and some of the members of Sector 7, or the remaining members that are like huddled up in that corner, tell them that there's another one, the bigger dude or whatever, or like, I guess Yuffie, if she met him earlier, she might have been like, we got to find this guy or something like that. And they search around, and all of them, not just Wedge, fall into the deep ground facility. I believe all of them fall in there, and they can't find a way back up. So they carry him slowly to the area where we find him later as Barrett and Tifa. And in a way, I think that she ended up saving them. That's what I think, at least right now.
I'm well, okay. Well, and I'll sort of maybe just chime in is that I feel like that particular area of focus, especially in Intergrade, is sort of divisive, right? And I'm just going to walk through this very quickly, just because I think it's just important to keep this in mind, like during this conversation for the audience and for us. But the timing of Intergrade is that it starts on the second to last day before the end of Remake. So the idea is that Intergrade has already stated that it's 2 chapters. And depending on how big they want to make this, which I don't know how we can mitigate like expectations of that, but just with that knowledge of like, there's so much that happens in that 2 days that it's such an incredibly hard thing to pinpoint where the end of this actually would be. But in my mind, and sort of piggybacking off of the subject that Blitz is talking about, which is Platefall, is that it seems super unlikely to me that that we won't be getting this sort of fill in story, right? Is that this is supposed to bridge the two or a part of the story together with what we already know of Remake, and the only story that isn't really told is the Avalanche story that is so deeply layered, in my opinion, through the entirety of Remake as it is. It's just not at the forefront of the story. And I can go into that later, but just to like highlight your particular point about Platefall, I don't really know, and I've never really thought about it, if I'm going to be completely honest, is how Biggs would have ended up exactly where he did. I know that because of the placement, the floor breaking from under him, we know that there's this facility underground that people talk about even before the event happens. But to think that he got that far is kind of a peculiar thing. And I don't see a lot of, like, that would be a place to insert either more discussion of like Jesse, Biggs, or Yuffie, Sonnen involvement. But the thing that throws me off completely, and I guess in this instance, in your sort of theory, this would have to happen during the deep ground segment to a degree.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't see, that's the one thing that I've been having difficulty placing is the time frame that this covers, but also where deep ground comes up and how they escape it is one of those things.
Because it feels like it's not just a matter of it's deeper down. It feels like it's in a different part of deep ground. Like, and that could just be that could just be something that, you know, I'm kind of, I'm letting the Dirge, like, poison me, like the knowledge that I have about Dirge against my will from, I don't know, like several playthroughs, but it does really look, and I think Cosmo Canyon Observatory, Viz in particular, pointed out some structural stuff in what we do see of deep ground that really points it towards being near reactor zero, like to the point where it feels like if they're going to maintain consistency architecturally, we're looking at it being underneath HQ, at least geographically. And so like the idea that they just end up in deep ground from Platefall, you know, somehow push Wedge's body down there a little further and then just abandon him. I'm a little bit, I couldn't definitely commit to that idea. I also think that the fact that we're getting these, you know, the introduction to these 3 other Avalanche characters that were mentioned in Barrett's resolution scene, I think that we may see narrative with them outside of the scenes they're actually with Yuffie and Sonnen in. So we might see them be the ones that recover Biggs's body and take the gloves off of the corpse of Jessie, because she's definitely dead for sure, guys. And you know, then just And then Wedge is just, he's a heavy dude, so he could have just like fallen down several. Like he's a round, heavy dude. So I see that as being kind of just as possible. I do have issues with like the timing of the whole thing. Like, and I think that's what everybody kind of does. Is it seems like somehow that board in the back is going to come in play. And for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, in the trailer, in the Intergrade trailer, there's a very clear cutout of the there's a very clear visual in the new Avalanche HQ's sort of underground basement thing that's got it's floor plans on it. And those floor plans, even though it's kind of hard to like for sure read anything on, you can see that the structures that are highlighted are very obviously the Shinra HQ floor, the library.
That's where photo mode is coming into play for sure.
Yeah.
Photo mode.
Yeah, for sure.
True. That's so true.
Definitely going to be looking at every single weird little poster. Finally, I get to freely look at that.
As many pics as you want.
It seems like there's no reason for that very clear highlight of what was supposed to be Avalanche's plan to get into HQ for some operation that actually predates Platefall, so it's not reactive. It's some plan they had that Cloud and Co inadvertently hijack. It seems bizarre to like introduce those concepts, introduce those things without expanding on them at all, other than to just say, "Oh, well, that didn't happen." So I do feel like there's a potential that threads are closed through that. I also just am kind of hoping that what Intergrade does is answers a bunch of really weird stuff about what happened in HQ and weird stuff with Avalanche, and because honestly, it's a better place to answer those questions than in other games. Like in the sequels, I would like to not spend a ton of time answering weird, mysterious stuff that happened in part one.
Yeah, you just want to play the game and enjoy it and not be too
and so if
like just catching up everybody. And I agree with that completely.
If Intergrade takes a chance to explain why President Shinra was hanging off the ledge, the weird stuff with Rufus, the bizarre what was the explosion that rocked Avalanche, or that
why didn't I think about that?
Yeah, all that
Holy
stuff.
Shit, yeah, like what if Yuffie's like pushing this man over the edge,
or Sonon seems to have some vendetta or something, or he's super evil. Yeah,
that explosion at the end is like just the tip of the iceberg of like things that are happening in Remake that are just like totally unexplained, or things that like seemingly don't need answers but are in the context of this new Avalanche sort of members being introduced to us. And I say new lightly, but as far as seeing them for the first time, there's so much of that stuff just in the core game that it's like, if all of that is present in the original, like you have this explosion that doesn't necessarily make sense. Those are like, you could shrug those off, or like the president on the ladder, you could, or off through the glass and hanging on for dear life. You could attribute that to like Dreamweaver or some sort of Sephiroth or Genova. I don't know what he would be doing with him off the ledge, but there's those things. But then there are like present details in Remake that I love, like, and I don't know if I want to go like too far into this. I kind of wanted to go back to the Jessie thing, because I agree that she's most likely dead. But even like how far off the rails can I go here, Clark? I don't want to like completely throw us off, or do you want me to just stay on like the?
No, dude, go for it. I don't know.
Okay, I was just gonna say that. So like as an example, like the gunpowder and Nellie's role in like Avalanche. And for those who don't know who Nellie is, she's somebody that's mentioned in Barrett's resolution scene. And she is known as the quartermaster, who is like the distributor of goods to different Avalanche like brand, or that's what the role of quartermaster is you distribute supplies, make sure that you manage them, all this other stuff. Everybody gets what they need in the military. It's a military term. Nellie is that, but we also know that Jessie is getting supplies for her bombs from a dealer. And she gets those supplies from this dealer before the game starts. Before the game starts, the bombing mission is where she gets the gunpowder. And we actually know that this happens because in the scene where we are introduced to Johnny, Johnny is being interrogated because Shinra has found out that gunpowder has been stolen before you go there. So this happens before you go to steal gunpowder with Jessie.
Right.
So that happens. So whoever got the gunpowder for Jessie got the gunpowder from the same warehouse, right? So then flash forward, Jessie can't get in touch with her supplier anymore.
Right.
And I have this feeling that this has something to do with Mako Reactor 1 to a degree. And then on top of that, so she can't get in touch with her supplier, but when they get there, somebody is already there at the same warehouse trying to get the same supplies, most likely. So Avalanche is already there. So the connection there is that Avalanche was able to get into this facility somehow without being noticed, because the guards come out and they're like, we don't see anybody. And then Cloud shows up. So they're getting in covertly with enough access, sort of like Jessie has with her own key card. And then somehow they're just doing the same thing at the same time, but being way more discreet about it. So the conclusion that I draw from that is that Avalanche is the supplier for Jessie too, because they're trying to get the same supplies. They're just denying her access. Now, the other thing that we have to keep in mind is that Nelly is also, and this is where the human connection here comes in, Nelly is a friend of Jessie's.
Yeah.
So
they're like sisters, is what Barrett says.
They're as close as sisters, and
right.
they shrug it off, but they laugh about it, right? So the point here is that this. So if Nelly is this character that we're seeing, this woman in Intergrade, this character already has so much characterization. Right. I think that's where I'm looking at this from, which is that you can talk about like the explosion, and I don't know how to connect that to like an event,
right?
But I see very clear character intent for this character that we've only heard about like once or twice. And each character, I want to stress this, is that each character that Barrett mentions, if they are that group that we see, has a ton of characterization. So I think if there is going to be a focus, I mean, this is sort of why I like this idea of Yuffie being somewhat involved, as Blitz is saying, is that those moments all should be happening during Intergrade. So their involvement with what we see, I don't know what they're going to be doing during Platefall, but I would imagine that there's some sort of, here's I guess, a tie-in, right? I think it's going to be more of the Avalanche group than Yuffie. I feel like Yuffie and the Avalanche group are going to be operating together, but different goals.
Right.
With the Jessie gloves. And I'm going to say that she's dead because I think Nelly is the one, or the Avalanche group is who puts that there.
Right. I do too. And I think I think that Nelly's connection to Jessie is why Erica Lindbeck probably recorded some lines.
I don't know who that is.
That is the VA for Jessie.
Okay.
And I think that there's going to be some more Jessie scenes, but they're not going to be what everybody's hoping for. They're not going to be her surviving. They're going to be like maybe some communication between Jessie and Nelly prior to her death. Like,
well,
right.
On top of that, just to maybe elaborate on this, and this is sort of what's weird about this, is that a lot of people, before Intergrade was even announced, were talking about Tifa's cut content, right? And in that cut content, it's Tifa choosing the option to get the dress, going and see Don Corneo and all this other stuff. But Jessie's involved in that time frame. So I think that whatever does happen with like Tifa's side mission with Jessie, those are things that are going to be seen. I don't know how much they're going to be elaborated on.
Right.
But I 100% we're going to get that perspective of like Jessie feeling better, maybe even talking to Avalanche to a degree, even though there seems to be a want to distance themselves from Avalanche, which is also a huge character-driven moment for me, which is that they most likely don't want to involve themselves with Barrett's Avalanche because they don't want to get everybody killed. Because Don Corneo is looking for Barrett because they want to know where the location of Avalanche is, and the only Avalanche that Shinra seems to be aware of is Barrett's Avalanche. No one knows about this other branch.
They seem to be on high alert.
He's aware. He's aware that there was an attempt on President Shinra's life in
but that was
I haven't
year
played
ago.
Before Crisis, right?
Yeah,
it wasn't.
It was after Before Crisis.
It's not even a year ago. Looking at the new timeline,
right?
The new timeline stresses that happened like almost a month before Remake even happened, which is that the assassination on Avalanche's leader happens. And for those who don't know what I'm referencing, I think I'm referencing World Premiere or one of those books.
The World Preview book. Yeah.
But they're aware of Avalanche. They're not aware that there is a bigger function of Avalanche. I think that they think that Barrett's is the one that's like the operation. That's where like the base is, which is why he becomes the target of the plate. So just to reiterate, I don't think that they're completely off the table for Shinra or Avalanche being like a bigger organization. I think the only focus that they have, though, is on Barrett's, which is why Sonnen doesn't want to be alerted or involve themselves, because they don't want to be targeted either. So there's some safety in not involving themselves to a degree.
Yeah,
I know I've been talking a lot. I'll take a break. Sorry about
Blitz.
that.
Have you guys taken a time to like go back through the trailer and try to like piece by piece, I guess, what we're seeing in Yuffie's DLC is taking place in what particular part of the story?
Yeah. We've to a degree.
What I was thinking,
I mean, and by degree we mean we've spent probably 6 to 7 hours together doing it, frame by frame.
I'm a huge obsessive about that.
If you want a good I know that Sleepezi has a video that's going to kind of talk about it, and I definitely recommend you tune in for that. But Viz Cosmo Canyon he's got a chronological version, a recut of the trailer that essentially recuts the trailer from chronological start to finish, and he makes an incredible case for that, like in the previous 40-minute video, which shows why geographically each thing is where it is, and he pieces it together timeline wise.
Cool. I definitely want to check that out, because I was thinking the other day, I was rewatching, because I reuse the footage often in like my videos, and there's that scene where like Sonon is like pressed up against like Yuffie. He's like kind of blocking or like hiding her on the train, and you see the red waves, the lasers are going by and like checking with who they are. I was thinking, like, what if that particular scene is actually the beginning of the DLC, essentially, right? Like, what if that takes place in the beginning of the DLC as they're making their way into Midgar, and it so happens that they are the ones that accidentally alerts the people on the train because they're not supposed to be there, and then that's when Cloud, Tifa, and Barrett are on the other side of the train fighting off those robots because the alarm went off.
Cool tie-in. That would be a cool tie-in of the moment.
Right.
I do know for a fact that it definitely starts before that particular scene takes place.
Right. Because there's it's vague in the trailer, but Sonon is introduced to Yuffie in Avalanche HQ. Like, the Avalanche people know him before. And but
that's another thing too. I was wondering, because like apparently Yuffie's father, right? What's his name? Godo?
Godo, yeah.
Yeah, his bio says that he raised or trained Sonon, technically, right?
Yeah.
He trained Sonon, and they, I guess, have a close relationship. So I was under the assumption that introduction of Sonon in the Avalanche HQ is
deceptive.
him introducing. He might be trying to introduce himself to Avalanche, because Yuffie tells him, "What took you so long?"
And this is another
maybe they
thing
split up from the train.
Yeah, this is another thing that was sort of extensively, I think, broken down by Viz, and he even pulled the Japanese too to guarantee.
Is the Japanese dialogue, which is unfortunately in 9 times out of 10, there's something there that like you want to know about or are curious about. Like a lot of the time, just direct translation solves this issue, which is so unfortunate, because I feel like there's a lot of disconnect then with like what we do and then what we end up like looking at the final product of the game. You wouldn't even think to look.
But
I get a lot of complaints. I get a lot of comments about that. People not liking the English localization because it's it says things differently, or they interpret things much differently than what the Japanese localization does.
You know, it 100%. Makes theory crafting more difficult, but I'd say for the most part they did an awesome job. Like, you know, like we're not supposed to know what's happening right now anyways. We're just going crazy with it. But I also don't necessarily want to dismiss that theory. Because I do think it's possible that they have pretended not to know each other in that situation. I think that's very possible. Because, you know, they're deceptive ninja types. You know, that's kind of, it's like really on brand for them, you know, to not. One thing we can say about that train, too, is that it's very likely the Sector 7 train. As weird as it is, it's something that's built into Remake, is that the NPCs, even though they're copy-pasted, they are only copy-pasted in certain sectors. And the NPCs that are in that particular train are Sector 7 NPCs. So so that I think that kind of ties into your theory. Because that, you know, those are the Sector 7 trains that you know, got hit with the laser scan. So I'm not fully discounting that as a possibility.
Yeah, for sure. I just think that like maybe they split up after that when they go on alert in the train, and she comes across the Mughal outfit and like, you know, uses that to like kind of like sneak around and stay like undercover, so to speak, and then gets attacked by pigeons.
What if okay, big just fucking galaxy, like just supernova brain theory here being live crafted right now thanks to Blitz. Okay, chapter 1, the entire thing is like the entire plot of Intergrade happens like in chapter 1. Like, you know, it started in Sector 7, go through the whole thing, end up in deep ground, and then chapter 2 fades. Or chapter 1 fades. Chapter 1 starts up. They're on the same train. And then in those trains, if you didn't know this, there's this very important detail. Beagle stamp is everywhere in all the trains in Midgar, especially in Sector 7. You're in the Sector 7 train, again, also with Sonon. You look up. Fucking terriers. Terriers all day. So chapter 2 is just a terrier version of the exact same events. DLC is going to be 40 hours. Boom.
Boom.
It's actually that fun. Do we actually like? I know
I have a terrier. Let me get him.
Yeah. Oh, you do?
It's a little teacup Yorkie.
That's so cool. That's great.
I was gonna ask you guys, how long do you think the DLC will be? I know that's sort of a question, but like, there's a lot that you can cover.
They say 2 chapter lengths, but are we talking like 2 chapter 4 chapter lengths? Or are we talking about 2 chapter 17 chapter lengths?
Right, exactly. You know? So it's like
chapter,
it's good of a judge of time, even just because of what you're mentioning, is that some chapters are just 10 times longer than the other ones. So
I hated chapter 17. Oh god.
The drum.
Oh yeah, chapter 17 with the Hojo drum. Yeah.
The beginning and the end were awesome.
Yeah,
it's just everything in between was just straight grind.
I will put this out into the world because I think I was gonna try and bring this up during our conversation about like things that are sort of left untied, and I'm actually surprised no one's really brought this up since Intergrade has sort of come up. Is Hojo has this like obsession about data and like collecting data.
Right.
And one of the things about that that's very particular about even Chadley, for instance, is that he is also made to collect data. I'm not talking about Chadley, by the way. I'm just mentioning that the purpose of him is to collect data for the sake of some experiment that Hojo is getting at or build upon all that stuff. Hojo, right before he leaves, he's like, I have just enough data now to go do this. And then we never see him again. So he's taking whatever he's gotten and going and doing something else. So he's like, okay, now you guys can go. Like, I don't need anything from you guys anymore. And it just ends with him like maniacally laughing or whatever. The thing is that Hojo is like a huge participant in like Deepground's like experiments. And we know directly from the drum, since he's usually hanging out there, that a lot of the Deepground enemies that we fight also show up in that space. So I think that there's going to be some, I think that's the one person that no one's talking about that I think would
might
most
have some influence in
this, because the one, and I know people hate to bring this up because it's a terrible chapter in Final Fantasy VII history, but Hojo is sort of a big deal in Dirge of Cerberus's plot. And I think if there are going to be callbacks, I think that there will be more than just like these nods, especially not leaving off with like VII and Deepground armor.
Right.
I think Hojo should technically show up just because
he
really
at one point actually infects Vice's mind.
That part thankfully has not happened yet. I was going to ask also Blitz about
sexy Hojo.
Sexy Hojo, that's right, young sexy Hojo. Who would have thought that that's what we needed for remake? I was going to ask you, how do you feel about the compilation too? I was going to ask you this before we started, but
so I played Dirge of Cerberus once, and I was very young. It was like, I want to say 2007, maybe. I was
that was enough, Blitz. That was all you needed.
I think I played it once back then, and I completely forgot it. So like when they showed Vice in the trailer, I didn't recognize him for shit, and I got flack in the comments for that. They're like, "Bro, I wish you had a reaction for that." I'm like, "I'm sorry, guys. I really did not remember who that guy was. He was sexy as hell, but yeah. I don't know who that guy was." And then I was like, "Oh, okay." I looked up some clips, and I'm like, "Oh, wait, is this guy?"
I feel like that's the same reaction that like I had, and I mention this constantly, so forgive me for repeating myself, but like Thanos at the end of Avengers, people being like, "Who the fuck is this dude?" Like who, like nobody knew who that guy was unless you read the comic books. So it's just like, I feel like that is sort of the bombshell that they dropped all of a sudden on people. It's like people didn't think that was like homework that we needed to do for fucking a game, you know, is play the entire compilation that is inaccessible.
Right.
It's like, who's gonna know that callback unless you've like thoroughly studied this stuff? That accessibility is a little shady, but sorry to go off on that.
I'm just thinking about my reaction, because like I actually edited that reaction and I put in LOL forgot Vice and Vice and you look at my face, I'm just like
what's going on?
I tried to change the subject in the chat. I'm like, "Hey, yeah, yo, did y'all see that shit? That shit is crazy. Why is that dude in the VR room?"
Who interbred Sephiroth and Cloud? Yeah,
it's weird. I actually went specifically after we had done our reaction to it.
Love you, Ultima.
Yeah, Ultima.
I just read Ultima's comment.
Yeah, Ultima's fantastic. I actually went and looked for other reactions to it to see how many people actually knew who it was, because from my experience, I was literally freaking out. I think from start to finish of the trailer, just being like, as soon as I saw it, because I was not expecting Deepground soldiers to just show up in armor, like the exact same armor. I thought that they had rewritten that aspect of the story.
There were actual tears, I believe.
Yeah, I was
right?
so stoked. I hate to be that guy, that particular fanboy of it, but especially because it's such an embarrassing game for most people who like Final Fantasy VII. But I was just like,
but your role is going to be very important during the next few months to explain a lot of this shit to people that don't want to have to go back and play it.
Well, that's what I was thinking to myself too. And not to jump topic from Intergrade, but that's sort of the job of Ever Crisis, I think, now. I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Super excited for Ever Crisis.
I am too. I'm super excited. There's so much that I want to see. Where did you post your reaction? It's on my I didn't post it. I don't post that stuff on my channel. I usually leave that for video essays. But if you want to look at my State of Play VOD on Twitch, I will be making a channel for VODs soon.
Oh yeah, we got to do that. Yeah, we got to do that.
But yeah, I lost my shit. There's also other stuff in there that, like, from the compilation that isn't Deepground or Dirge of Cerberus related that I'm very excited to talk about.
I'm excited for the new stuff. I'm like really excited for the new Nojima stuff. I think he's really like, he got all of his weirdness out, you know,
sure
on 10.2.5. So, you know, there we go.
I don't know. It's a fun. I think Ever Crisis is like literally what I've been thinking about for a long time, is just them explaining stuff to people, because like who wants to watch a 10-hour video series discussing like the lore in order for you to be in the aware of just the one part of Remake?
Yeah,
not a lot.
And that does bring up like something that is going to happen no matter what our topic is. Like we should bring this up just to get BltzZ's take. What do you think? Is this a sequel, a remake, a requel, or both?
Never thought of it being a requel. I do think it's a sequel though. That's been in my mind for quite some time, because they're directly acknowledging things with visions for Cloud, at least in Aerith. Things that happened already in the original game that we know of. So for me, I always looked at it as a sequel. And I know that there was a lot of people that were upset about the fact that it's technically, they thought it was going to be like a remaster in a sense. Like it does say remake,
sure, yeah.
They thought it was going to be basically the same exact game going forward. I was immediately excited because I've played fucking Final Fantasy VII original like 30 times at this point. You know, I know exactly everything. Like I'm not surprised anytime. Like I watch Caleb Hart every now and then on Twitch, because he surprises me with like all his like cool little speedrun shits for this game that I played so many times.
It's great. I love his stuff.
It's so dope seeing his like genuine like obsession over it, you know, and I respect that. But I'm on board with something different, and it definitely being a sequel.
Sure. And so I think, I mean, you could get into the semantics of all that stuff, and it can be a little bit of a distraction from like, well, what's actually happening here? Because sequel just literally means that it's anything that is sequentially linked to a previous anthological title. So at any point, we could say that if time travel is involved and things that are occurring in Remake are in any way predicated upon the events of the OG, that it's somehow a sequel. Definitely. I will say though that there is some, if you've watched all 10 hours of Sleepezi's videos, which you might know that you know, there is precedent, and Cosmo Cannon also covers this real well. There is precedent for the idea that time travel and like exposure to the live stream has always had, just less, although less explicitly explained, this you know, this sort of omnidirectional time concept attached to it. You know, time is a flat circle, as they might say in the first and only good season of True Detective. And so, you know, is this just Final Fantasy VII now? And this is what that is now. And I think the answer is kind of like, yeah. And I think that what Ever Crisis presented to a lot of people was this opportunity to get the remake that they wanted, which is just a remaster of everything. But I don't actually think that's what Ever Crisis is. And I think we have some pretty good evidence to say that instead what Ever Crisis is doing is it's retelling the entirety of the compilation through the lens of Remake, so that it sort of redistributes what we know as canon. It helps establish what Final Fantasy VII is now. And it's Remake. And so I also don't think that it's going to be as concretely defined as a lot of people, particularly Viz, are hoping for. I think it's going to be a lot more symbolic and metaphysical, you know, and that's just kind of the way that they do things. And that's, honestly, I'm not so attached to it being so insanely detailed that every string, you know, every string goes to its particular, you know, other side of the map on our bizarre, crazy plot ghosts theory thread. It doesn't need to do that for me. There's several things that I think that it just needs to touch in order for that to be ultimately satisfying for, let's say, 90% of the fandom. And I do think that's where it's gone. So I'm glad we got that out of the way. what do you think? What do you think in terms of Intergrade's overall role in the compilation or in Remake? Like, do you think that it's a big indicator that, and I, this is something that gets touched on a lot, but I just want to hear your take, Blitz. Is it an indicator that we're moving to next gen?
For me, yes. Because in a lot of ways, they could have just reported the game again to PS4, like DLC wise. But personally, I've talked to some game developers about this as well. They go through hell, like trying to, make a game for like one console generation and then going back and like reporting it for another and just making sure things work and then reshading things. And like, it's one of those things that I put myself into that perspective. And I'm like, okay, I understand why they went ahead and did it, because Remake did get a lot of flack for their textures. The game was pretty as far as like, character models goes, and certain like, areas looked really good. But of course, you can't take away the skyboxes and the textures of the doors. I guess some people were I wasn't triggered by the doors. I was more bothered by the skyboxes myself, and the flowers of areas like garden. So I feel like that, because they spend money on those things. They spend lots of money on creating these textures and paying these people to like take their time and put effort and work into it. And the friggin' console didn't even load it. It didn't even load it, and most likely that's probably why they delayed the initial release, like an extra month, to try to smooth things out and get as much things to run as good as they can. Because for the most part, it runs good. It runs a solid 30 frames the whole entire way. Few hiccups in certain fights, but nothing too crazy. Other than that, you lose some textures. And I was trying to explain this to some people that in my comments that I guess haven't played PC games, but in PC games they do similarly the same thing. When you go to a PC game, you can go to a graphics tab and you can lower like specific graphic settings in order to increase your frame rate. So there's also an element to that with like game development, right? They know the power, the capabilities of a PlayStation 4, what it can take, what it can handle. They lower it in enough to essentially where it could run at a consistent frame rate, which would be 30 in this aspect. And they figured, whatever, this is the best that we can do, I guess.
Yeah.
Because there was never any acknowledgement on it. They just said it was a bug. I really don't believe it was a bug. I think that they restricted it purposefully.
Huh.
I definitely agree with this. Like, it's so weird to say it now, but like, I just got PS5 myself, and I played Demon Souls Remake, and it was so polished that it almost felt like I was like in a dream world, because everything was just so detailed, and it felt so weird to be playing a game that just had so much polish over it. And when I think back to, and I almost feel bad. I feel bad for the developers having to like, I know this sounds so weird.
Literally everything.
Redo everything, but in just such like minute details that I was like, I don't mind the door. I do mind the skyboxes, because that's literally the entire background. That's like bad CGI or bad.
In my playthrough, I laughed for like a good 10 minutes.
Yeah,
it's my initial video. I was like, what the hell?
It's distracting, but it's also details like that make me feel like what I'm playing is like barely functioning. Like, I feel like if there was just one stick underneath this like house of bricks that got moved just slightly, like the whole thing would just come down. I think Cyberpunk is a good example of where like that's like there's just.
I agree, Prince. Sorry, I was just responding to Prince's comment. I agree, man. Yeah, there's definitely no way there's a bug. Like, Unreal Engine 4 works very well with many games. There's a lot of games it runs very well, and of course the hyper realism of Remake could have caused a few issues here and there, but I personally believe that it's a limitation implemented by the devs to get the game to consistently run at 30 frames.
And they must
that reminds me of something. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Final Fan TV, which, by the way, April 10th, there's going to be a Final Fan TV special that is the 1-year anniversary of Final Fantasy VII Remake. And some, if not all, of the people that are talking here today will be there, which, That's exciting. We'll be competing
Super
with
exciting.
KupoCon, which has like Britt Barron and Brianna White and John Eric Bentley and stuff like that. But we know you'll be watching us because we're way more interesting than them.
Yeah, we actually play the game, guys.
Yeah,
right. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Actually, so do all of them. But
yeah, I've seen Brianna's gameplays of it.
Oh, yeah, she's so fun to watch. So fun to watch. But please support KupoCon as well. Just find a way to support all of us. We love all of you.
Just watch it all simultaneously.
Just watch it all simultaneously. All sorts of stuff. But
keep our volume up.
So what so how that relates to this is this weekend, Sunamods is going to be on Final Fan TV, and they have a big announcement for this episode that
that's so true. Okay, so
it's very, very exciting. Sunamods is and they've done some pretty extensive breakdowns of the actual game code. And one thing about the models in Final Fantasy VII Remake is that the actual character models, like the polygon account, the level LOD, everything that they have tuned for Remake, those character models are really, really pushing the limit of the PS4 Pro, even really. And so something that NSP and I have talked about a lot actually is this idea that really what they ended up making a decision before release that that they were going to make these character models with the future in mind, and they had to make some sacrifices to have those carry over well. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's what ended up happening. And I've heard something similar from Sunamods, and he knows a tremendous much more about that than I do. So
it'd be an interesting thing to get an ear on. But that's sort of how it feels with just Intergrade in general, is that it was fully anticipated that whatever was happening after was going to be PS5.
Yeah, and it happens a lot with a lot of games too. Like even within the same console generation, believe it or not, too. Like I'm a big Metal Gear Solid fan, as you know, man, Big Boss over here in the corner in the background.
That's
so
sick.
Metal Gear Solid 1 was like a huge game for me. So when 2 came out, like I just no life did. Played 2 so much as not a lot of people really genuinely like 2 compared to the others, of course. But I loved Part 2 a lot. I played it a lot when I was a kid. So when Part 3 was announced, and then I finally got a chance to play it, I couldn't put my finger on why the game looked slightly worse to me. I couldn't understand why. Like I was very young. I think this was 2005. I felt like playing Metal Gear Solid 3.
I was an adult during that year.
I was enjoying the game, and I'm like, there's something about this that doesn't look. I didn't understand the concept of frames, and purposefully they had to limit the frame rate within Metal Gear Solid 3 because of the jungle textures, all the trees, the camo index, all that stuff that got newly implemented into, Metal Gear Solid 3. They couldn't necessarily replicate the frames with the next iteration, and the camera angles not until Subsistence came out. And then when HD came out for Metal Gear Solid 3, I finally got to play both in 60 frames. I'm like, yeah, Metal Gear Solid 3 looks way better. Like stacking up now it looks really good compared to comparing the two. And a lot of games do that, like sacrifice specific elements in order to maintain the textures and the quality of the things that you're going to be staring at the whole time.
Yeah.
Because Metal Gear Solid 2 was 60 frames and Metal Gear Solid 3 was 30, but it would dip below to 20, maybe 15 sometimes, especially when fire and like smoke elements came up.
It's a very like temperamental time for video games too. I almost feel like that a lot of that
very
get away with this, like almost to a degree. And I mean, that problem still exists today. That's like an entire video series of itself of like people cutting corners or just pushing limitation and stuff like that. In terms of just trying to get that quality up. But that's interesting. I've never played Metal Gear Solid, so I would have never even known that they had done that.
God. You haven't played the MGS stuff yet?
No, not at all.
Oh, that is such a lore. You could do.
There's too many series of games that people are being like, you haven't played that, you need to play it. And I'm like,
no, okay.
Just play. There's 4 games you need to play. You just need to play 4.
This is
all
the
4.
apex of like insane bananas Sleepezi territory lore. Like it is so nuts. Like
Don
it's really
what the fuck, Sleepezi. Thank you very much.
Okay. That. Okay. So welcome to the chat, guys. Welcome to this Intergrade chat that is also about Metal Gear Solid also. No,
sorry for that segue.
It's actually all relevant. It's all very, very relevant because we're talking about, we're talking about like the life of this 3 to 4 part game series that is spanning a console generation, and so it's an awkward place to put the first part of a trilogy of a remake of a single game. Like it is weird new territory. Mm-hmm. But so moving on, I think we've kind of covered Intergrade in general, but I do kind of want to hear some of your what do you think is going on in Remake? Blitz.
I was talking a little bit before we started the stream about this. I was telling Sleepezi about this. I was on Reddit. I was on Reddit searching around, and I came across this comment. And it was the thread was talking about the new CGI renders for Aerith and Tifa in Brave Exvius, right?
Yeah.
And somebody was translating Aerith's like dialogue and like interpreting it like in a specific way. Now I don't have the exact. I screenshotted it because I can't find. It was like 3 days ago when I screenshotted it.
Yeah, and I think a couple of them have been deleted on Reddit because it's been reposted a couple times. But yeah.
So this one said. So it says what Aerith said is super interesting in regards to Remake. If you guys were able to break it down, what I got was when she's saying this while she's doing her animation, release your power, let the power of the planet course through the wind and carry along my memories. And in a sense, it's kind of like, you know how Aerith is in a way very self-aware in ways about like what's going on in Remake and what's going on in the story, like what's supposed to be happening. I don't know if this like directly would like, to me, it kind of speaks to me and it says, okay, maybe Aerith is a freaking god. And in Final Fantasy VII Original, she really did send her memories across the live stream to other versions of herself.
Yeah.
I want to so badly. I'm going to go off on this really quick.
Go ahead, man. I'm all for it.
Well, wait. Let's let Blitz finish a little bit first.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I read that and I was like, I got to screenshot this, and I was considering making a video on it, but I'm like, I'm gonna be on this stream this week. Of course, I got to talk to you guys about this. You guys are the people to talk about this, especially. So I thought that was pretty interesting because it's obviously not a canon game. Brave Exvius is a celebration of Final Fantasy characters, and for a lot of ways, it is just pretty much that. But essentially having her say this specific dialogue, and it could be translated very differently. I thought it was pretty interesting that like she is essentially doing that like in Remake, so to speak.
It's very on brand for her.
Do you want to take that one?
No, I'll let you talk for the next 10-15 minutes
25
while you explain
minutes.
it. Yeah.
Okay, I'll be very brief.
Let me refill some water if you guys don't mind.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
I got you. I'll be right back.
All right. Okay. He's gone. What do you guys think about him? He's a cool dude, huh? Super nice.
So nice. What a nice and lovely person.
He's got great teeth too.
In my heart that will never go away after meeting him. So nice.
And
I'm trying to sound very aggressive.
And he's got a doggo. I think that's a terrier. I think that's Stamp in the background. That's Terrier
What
Stamp.
if he is like actually from a different timeline and we are all just being bridged to, because I had beagles. So somebody make a theory about this. Final fan.
Weird. Yeah. So okay, you know what I'll talk about while this is happening is let's just talk about the things that are happening in the world with Remake. Okay, so we've got cool community content happening right now. We've got KoopaCon next weekend, for the 1-year anniversary of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Other thing that happens is the exclusivity deal on Remake. Oh, it's Stamp.
What's up, buddy?
Okay,
he's a very tiny. He's like 4.75 pounds.
Oh my goodness.
His breed is like a max of like 5 pounds. It's hilarious.
Oh, you got me. You got me a follow with that Stamp. That dog is already.
Like,
you know what, doggo? You get it. Okay, so I'm gonna use that as a segue. I really do, really want all of you, and I'm gonna put the link in chat. We have a up and coming streamer that's going to be streaming live essentially for their first time tomorrow. And they're one of the biggest supporters of the Final Fantasy VII community. Their name is Skittle, or also known as Final Fangirl. I'm going to put their link in chat. I want all of you guys to take the opportunity to go follow, and then try and catch her live tomorrow for opening stream. So I'll do that, and then
do it for the cute dog. Do it for the cute dog.
Because this reminded me of that because
she actually has a
terrier with the Stamp hat. And
that's right.
Yeah.
She has a dog that cosplays a Stamp, which is fantastic.
Agreed.
This is Grayson, aka Gray 13. Gray.
Oh, God.
That's so you guys have seen my banner 13. Is designed by Joshua Kim, and I asked him, I was like, can you include my dog Grayson on there, and make him look like Red 13. And he has like him jumping over my shoulder on my YouTube banner, and it's so fucking adorable.
I love your YouTube banner. I love your YouTube banner.
Fantastic art, by the way, as well.
Yeah, super jealous of your art. Yeah, I saw that.
Hey man, J Kim. Shout outs to J Kim. I am super thankful for all that he does for the channel, man. Amazing, beautiful artwork, and he's a legit force in the industry too. Like he's worked on legitimate shows that you guys have seen as well too. He's worked on Venture Bros.
Oh, no way.
From Adult Swim, yeah.
What?
He's worked on that. He's worked on the Lil Dicky, the rapper Lil Dicky professional rapper video. Dude. It's an animated one too. And he's just an all around amazing dude, and one of the original mods to the channel as well.
That's amazing.
Great.
Fantastic.
That is definitely fantastic.
I was like, that's got some animation background just because of the posing. I was looking at that specifically. I was like, that guy knows what he's doing. Whoever drew that. so it makes sense.
So we were talking about memories and live stream and materia and how all that stuff is a long established concept with all sorts of lore implications, and why the Aerith commentary finally cements a concept that's always been sort of just background stuff, but has always been ultra important to Final Fantasy VII and the lore. But it's always been like subterranean lore. It's super critical to the way that everything operates, material, live stream, all that stuff. But they never come out and say that, and that's one of the cool things about these about Brave Exvius and Opera Omnia is that they will just kind of say in the brief period of time that
let's get right to the
this is what it's actually about, because you're probably clicking through this dialogue because you're playing this game on the toilet, etc.
Oh yeah.
So
sure.
So that was what Sleepezi was going to take it away with for the next
I was just gonna
10 to 15 minutes while I was just pitch the chat Final Fangirl.
Okay, good. Do that for sure. Just because of what Clark said, there's a huge basis of what did I miss?
Oh, I love you.
Oh, okay. I love you too. The idea here is that memories are the important part about it. And so sending her memories back is super important. And it's actually a concept that I bring up a lot in my part 5 of the video, is that the tagline, the clickbait is made of memories. And that's what time seemingly consists of in the Final Fantasy VII universe, according to one of the not official, I want to say, there's a lot of discrediting of this book, but it's very clear in that, which is the maiden who travels the planet which is also very much seemingly almost highlighted, like just visually that Brave Exodus is like what that looks like if you were to like manifest it in visuals. But the thing that she illustrates is that when life returns to the life stream, the very like fabric of time itself is made up of the memory of the collective memory of everybody that is in the planet or going into the planet, and anybody who dies like starts to make up the future of that. So technically this concept of memories being that they're so important to time itself is the very reason in this hypothetical explanation, right, is how Aerith would manage to send any sort of like ripple across time to the time of Remake. And it would be the same way that Sephiroth also would have that power as well. And if one were to corrupt that the memory of something, right, that would be I guess would allow somebody access. So just even in concept of memory having a tangible element of the life stream, which is what the Whispers do and what memories are and what, you know, this Brave Exodus is sort of alluding to is, and I'm just covering a bigger portion of this. This is just macro vision of like what that concept means is that that's seemingly what makes Remake function as like a concept is that the concept of memory. Yes, Ultima, that's exactly right. And now the thing is that when that trailer came out for Aerith, it almost feels like that area that we are shown, and I this is speculation. I don't want this to come off too seriously, but like this is just what I thought about when I saw it, is that it almost feels like that Aerith scene is happening in the Remake concept art for her. And I always thought to myself, it's so weird that this character is getting that piece of art because we know the other locations of everyone else in their like official art, right? We know where Barrett is. He's in Aerith's church. Like we know where Yuffie is. She's like somewhere on like sector, whatever, like the top plate looking out into the outer plate area, I guess, of Midgar. And I was always thinking to myself, where is this other place that Aerith is? And then seemingly in this Brave Exodus trailer, we're seeing that area also depicting this concept of sending memories back, which I think is really subtle, by the way, is that I think we see two Aeriths in that trailer. I think we see the Aerith that sends the memory back to the other Aerith. Again, this is like completely hypothetical and maybe completely wrong, but we see her cast something out into the world, and then we find ourselves in the field with Aerith, with the flower, which is how we find her in Remake as well. So
Somebody said that it looks like the dead flower that the guy stepped on, and she's like bringing it back to life in a sense.
Oh, that's so weird. I didn't notice that myself.
Yeah,
but that would be
yeah, that's pretty dope.
But then making mention of memory right as we meet that particular moment, and sort of hearkening back to the original meeting of Aerith in Remake, is that she talks about that reunion to a degree, right, with handing over the flower to Cloud and all this other stuff. So that's just my interpretation of it, just briefly. But I also want to say that maybe like all these other game inclusions, it like people might discredit those, but I think like, and Clark might be able to speak more on this, but like another Deep Ground character has seemingly popped up in another mobile game for Final Fantasy.
Good reason, for absolutely no reason.
But her presence in that game would only make sense if she would be somehow included in Remake Intergrade, and that is Shulk.
Yeah, Shulk feels very, very like she belongs in this the narrative. Like if there's going to be a good Sviet of color that's a foil, it's Shulk. And
for transparency's sake,
yeah.
Did anyone just get that joke? Please let me know if anybody just got that joke. It's terrible, terrible lore joke.
Have you considered not explaining that it's a joke and then just letting it move on so that people can,
because more people need to know about Dirge.
Because then people can feel intelligent for getting your joke. So you rob them of that.
I don't want that. I want everybody to be included. I want people to educate themselves on terrible lore. I was going to ask if that was a particular, like, you brought up the memory thing, and I wanted to actually, like, I know that I was talking a lot, but is there anything about that was striking to you as far as, like, those two trailers, other than, you know, what we already kind of covered?
Basically what we've covered, but I didn't think about that concept of it being two Arets that are being showcased to us. I think that's a very cool way to look at it, and I think you might be right in that sense. Tifa just looked, holy shit, badass. Oh my god.
I know, right? Somebody was just like, I was just watching that, like,
okay, all right. So, and I had a little bit of a conversation on, there's a group of like lore junkies. What is going on with that dolphin? Okay, has anybody come across anything that really makes sense as to why somebody from Nibelheim, which is far from any ocean, has all this dolphin lore associated with her?
I created this like fanfic like backstory randomly on stream. I was like, the reason why, like, okay, let's so two monks exist within Final Fantasy VII that we know of. It's Rude and Tifa. They're both monks. What if at one point, right after the Nibelheim incident, when Tifa goes to train with Zangan and become a full-flegged monk that she is, he also had other students as well during that timeline. Maybe it was, who knows? Maybe it could have been, this is a stupid like joke, but like it could have been like Rude with hair. And,
yeah, that would be fucking hilarious, actually.
And he had like a serious crush on Tifa, and she just doesn't recognize him at all. Like anytime they come across each other, she does not recognize him at all. But like the reason why I brought that up is like with her in the monk school, right? Because monks are supposed to be in tune with the earth, with energy and all that stuff. What if each person is, and I guess I'm gonna reference Harry Potter in a way, like in Harry Potter, you guys watch Harry Potter, right?
I know. I don't even know. What are you guys? What's that? Is that like a manga or something? Or
in Harry Potter 3, Prisoner of Azkaban, they teach him a spell called the Patronus Charm. And the Patronus Charm allows whoever the caster is, it creates a animal based on that, I guess, person's like personality or whatever. Everybody has a unique one, except Harry and his dad both had like a stag. Both him and his dad had like a stag, or like a deer, so to speak, right? Like a reindeer with a lot of like horns. And I'm thinking maybe as a monk, each person that trains in the school of monk, you have an animal that I guess your inner self like gravitates towards, or like channels that energy. And maybe for Tifa, it's dolphins.
Yeah, like a totem.
I could definitely see that. I think that's a total, like, I didn't know that perspective on it at all, but that totally makes sense to me. Well, as far as that's concerned.
And Final Fan TV actually brought this up.
Good night, Arlie, by the way.
Later Prince,
and she deserves it. You've been a busy boy today and worked real hard. Fish Fried Cat. Oh, I love you, buddy. Fish Fried Cat, by the way, makes some of the funniest content I've ever seen. Please find him on Twitter and sign up for his YouTube. His stuff is radical.
Definitely gonna check that out.
So, anyways, what we were talking about is why Rude lost his hair, and I think it's probably because he did like a year and a half of 100 daily push-ups, sit-ups, and squats, plus like 10 kilometers of daily running.
I think I know what this lore is hinting at. Maybe.
And so, I do like the idea of totem animals, but Final Fan TV did bring up the idea that maybe there is sort of some, because there's all this real deep symbology into all these characters, and a lot of it is really lost just looking at it. You have to either get developer interviews or just find stuff, but Nomura's very visual, and so he does kind of show his hand sometimes, and I think I like the idea that there's these sort of animal caricatures, and a lot of people have said that Terrier stamp is a direct representation of Zack, and that the obviously Fenrir the wolf is associated with Cloud, and Cloud has, you know, all this, you know, lone wolf stuff that fits with that. Plus, in Norse mythology, he, you know, Fenrir kills Odin and brings upon the end of the world, which is, you know,
so his daddy is Loki.
Yeah, his
Cloud's father is actually Loki. Confirmed.
Okay, and the Cloud's father thing, I almost don't want them to answer it, because there are so few ways that that's satisfying. It's now the biggest mystery in my life to me. Like, who's Cloud's father? Why is he strong? And I almost don't want it answered, because it's written itself into a corner in my mind. It's the ending of Lost. Nothing will satisfy me.
I feel like going back on that really quickly, you made a very good point to say that not everything, I think, will be answered. Yeah. And I think there are things that you might want to elaborate on for something that's as expansive as Remake seems to be. And then there are things that you just really shouldn't touch, like Dirge of Cerberus, and they're doing that anyway. So it's just this back and forth of
but I think we've talked about it. Dirge of Cerberus belongs in DLC. Like, this is the best place for that.
I only agree with that because of Midgar. That's the only reason it should come up, and it was the reason why it came up to begin with in Remake already. So I think an elaboration on it is, you know how I feel about this, and I don't want to like just jump into like this whole like terrible talk that I know people will just like immediately revolt from. But like, I definitely think that not only is this a setup for like Dirge of Cerberus stuff, but I think Genesis is probably going to be showing up as well to a degree. And you think
they'll be redesigning him?
I think so.
So okay, let's get over this right off the bat. There is nothing in the way of them reusing Genesis likeness legally. That is a total bizarre urban legend that's run through everything. Gact is absolutely fair game still. They don't have to pay him. He's shown up in mobile games as recently as last year. Like, that is it. So that's this weird fandom thing that's
I heard. I didn't know. I didn't hear about the legal thing. What I heard some people were talking about was his his issues or whatever he had, in like, they probably did not want him to represent the character for whatever reason. That's what I was under the assumption.
There was some talk. There was some cancellation talk, but that seems to have faded.
I think he's pretty I will say, in any way, shape, or form, I think that character is showing back up. And I think because that character, for those who are not familiar with this, is that Genesis is in Midgar right now in the lore.
Yeah, there's actually no other good place for him to show up.
He's closer. So, and I think that like there's a huge amount of basis for it. Like, Deep Ground and Dirge of Cerberus has the least representation in Remake as a present game. The one game that gets
wait, say that again. You said Dirge is the least.
Dirge is the least highlighted of it.
I would say Before Crisis is less highlighted.
I think it has way more prevalence to the story now that Intergrade is a thing. That's my own opinion about it. But I think Crisis Core is the most. I think Crisis Core is the most.
The last scene, The Price of Freedom. I mean, it's straight up ripped. Yeah.
100%. I think if they're going to go over things that are brought up in that story, I think Genesis, like, regardless of how people feel about the character, has a lot of purpose to the structure of things. And I will say this, I'm not saying like a retelling of the same thing that we've already seen, but I genuinely think that there's more story to tell in that, in the line of thinking that Crisis Core introduces, and something that Remake seems to be borrowing from. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about Genesis, Blitz?
I was thinking, in theory, full theory like territory, I was thinking maybe he'll show up again but what if, for example, with the whole Zack being alive thing? Yeah. What if Zack gets his own spin-off game or DLC, and in his scenario, in a what if scenario, entirely what if scenario of him surviving and going through Midgar and filling Cloud's role essentially in a way, What if Genesis shows up in his timeline and just like completely fucks with him in the way that like Sephiroth does to Cloud?
I think there's a lot of
That's my dream. That's my dream. I absolutely do not think. I absolutely do not think that's going to happen. I don't. I think. I think at the end of Intergrade, we're going to see everybody has stepped into the Terrier timeline, and we're just going to have to deal with it. But I do think it is my dream.
You get a Buster Sword. You get a Buster Sword.
April 10th. April 10th. Here's what happens. The exclusivity deal runs up.
Yep.
On Xbox, the version of Final Fantasy VII that comes out for Xbox is in the Terrier timeline, and you play as Zack, and you fight Genesis, and and Xbox never gets to play as Cloud.
Is it just a Twilight Princess thing where like they just flip the map? And
it's like a Pokemon Sword and Shield thing where you get Final Fantasy VII Cloud or Zack. That's what you get. That's like what
Soul
I think.
Soul Calibur, the Xbox got.
That's what I think should happen. So
do we get an Xbox Sword? Is what I want. Where's the Xbox Shuriken for fucking Yuffie?
Okay, I heard the Buster Sword thing come up. So you get a Buster Sword, you get a Buster Sword. So that makes me think you have certain ideas about Stamp, multiple timelines, and what you think is happening. So end of Intergrade, okay, prediction time, end of Intergrade, you come out, you see a little bit past, like the door just gets peeked open a little bit more as to the future. Are we gonna see Cloud and Co. in the Beagle universe or the Terrier universe? Blitz.
I've always been under the assumption that Cloud and Party that we've seen at the end of Remake are in the Beagle universe, and the Terrier universe we're seeing is a separate thing that is sort of a ripple effect in a way, like with Aerith sending herself across multiple timelines and all that shit with the Harbingers of Fate, basically creating a ripple effect affecting Zack, whereas like Zack essentially is supposed to die, and he dies every single time because the Whispers are there and they prevent him from living. Now with them not there, he's able to defeat these soldiers and bring Cloud in the separate timeline. Like I'm thinking multiverse theory here.
Right.
And that like he's moving on to Midgar, and he's going to not follow the exact role of what Cloud did and what happened with Cloud, but he essentially will be, I guess, coming into play with Avalanche, so to speak, and maybe he'll meet up back with Aerith and be like, "Yo, I'm sorry, I legit did not get any of your letters. Please don't leave me for the blonde dude."
Like, yeah, exactly. Come back to me. It's like
I'm 6'1". That guy's 5'7". What are you doing? What are you doing, Aerith?
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yo, I remember in my original book for Final Fantasy VII, I saw Cloud was like 5'7". I'm like, man, I can't wait to be 5'7" and 21 years old.
I know. Okay, so you don't think? So why don't you think that the past has just changed? Just I
don't even know how to answer that question.
I'm not. So we will get to you, Sleepezi. We will give you your chance to answer this question. No, you just don't want to. You don't want to pot commit. Okay, Blitz. Why don't you think that it's just one timeline? Just give me your bullet points.
I don't think it's one timeline necessarily, because the events that we're seeing occur, like it could be a different time period, of course, what they're showing us, but essentially that explosion that happens, right? Where it sends Zack to the floor, like he gets knocked off of his ass, like knocked onto his ass. That's occurring. Whatever happened within like Remake when they're fighting the Harbingers of Fate takes place nighttime, early morning, still like nighttime. Zack's whole thing is happening in the daytime. It looks like pretty much middle of the day when he starts fighting those Shinra soldiers, and then the explosion happens a little bit closer to the evening, afternoon time, and I just don't see that necessarily being a continuation of the timeline in that sense, with those events happening within the same time. Because Zack's whole thing is like what, 2 weeks before, actually months before that, right?
It's 2 months before, yeah.
2 months, 2 months before that, whereas that's happening months after. Now it could very well just be like a in the essence of time thing, that they're just showing us what happened with this particular storyline, and now the party, I guess, is like 2 months ahead into the future, if so to speak. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of weird to me that they would do that. So I think that essentially is just like a ripple effect affecting different multiverses, or a multiverse. Just the one that we get to see in this particular scenario is Zack's, surviving.
Right. And I want that to be true because it has the potential of being making the most sense from a continuity perspective,
and giving us a lot of content, because who knows,
and
after Remake, maybe we get Zack What If games.
Yeah, it will give us, the entire Chocobo dungeon series will be centered around Zack. Yes, so 100%. I do hope you're right. What I think has happened, if you had to put a gun to my head, and all this stuff, because this is the beauty of Remake. I've changed my mind on this several times. What I think we're actually seeing is that the entire reason that, like, it's shown, like, almost nauseatingly how often that the Whispers actually save the party's life, like resurrect Barrett, save them like 3 times on the highway, like they die super to death forever. Part of the reason that they take the time to indicate that is to let us know that if they've stepped into the Terrier timeline, which has the Whispers dissolving in September, so far before the events of Remake, that the Whispers were probably not there to save their lives. And so they've now stepped into a timeline that they are all dead in. So that's why there's no extra Buster Sword. That's why there's no extra copy of the party. And there are definite issues with that. Like that's not how time works. I mean, like there's no way they would have followed the same exact path if Zack were involved. Like that's. But I also, like, let's just remember, we're not dealing with quantum physicists. We're dealing with Kazushige Nojima, who wrote Final Fantasy X 2.5. And, so, like, I do think that I also am not totally discarding the possibility that they gave themselves multiple directions to go with the way they ended it, and then are waiting on fan reactions to decide how far they can go. Like, is this game so successful, and do we have enough resources to make a Zack Timeline spin-off game? Can we do that, or will the fans cannibalize us?
Well, you could say the same thing about Intergrade to a degree too, because from what seems to be the case is that they wanted, in all discussions had so far, they wanted more time to implement the Tifa stuff. Yeah. They wanted more time to put Vice in as a secret boss, which was the original plan, was for him to be in the base game. And it just seems like that. I don't feel like a lot of this is out of place. I think it's more that they had too much that they wanted to do. And it's not a case of which direction. It's about how do we best illustrate this, or take the time to, like, really allow all of this to breathe. Because the fact that they wanted to add more to the game that we already got is insane to me. It's insane that they wanted to put Vice in, because that's a huge tell, right? And a lot of that we're kind of discovering now in terms of, like, what their intentions were. I don't know.
And I appreciate that a lot too, because I know Vice and Dirge really got no positive, not a lot of positive reactions out of people up till even now,
I totally agree.
It's worse now than it was.
Yeah.
That's true.
So what I look at it as is, right, and like with Remake so far, with all these characters, I love every single character. When I was a kid, I didn't care for Barrett, really. I truly didn't. I've always been a Tifa simp, and I didn't necessarily like Aerith as much as I do now. Like, Remake made me love and appreciate Aerith and Barrett way more. So part of me is like, I'm totally open to the fact that they definitely want to include Dirge of Cerberus stuff, because of how successful they have been with making these characters that I already liked, like even more. Right. What can they do with these characters that I personally don't really care for. Like, are they gonna make me fall in love with Kate Sith? Like what kind of shit?
Yes, they are.
know?
I guarantee
you and
Kate
are
Sith will
literally
be a fan favorite.
And it's
promised.
And I think that's a big focus for them. They want to go back, and they know that a lot of this stuff, like with Dirge, and a lot of people don't necessarily like it. And there's a group of people that also don't like Crisis Core to a certain extent, and they want to rewrite that for fans and get them to see the perspective that they were trying to initially go, but Zack Snyder Justice League it, make it show you the true form of what it's supposed to be like, and what they were initially trying to make it look like, in a sense.
Mm-hmm. I can't say anything more than what you just said on that point, because I 100% agree. I think Remake has just 100% sold me on characters that I never thought I would enjoy particularly, like in a bigger sense. But I appreciate every single person's role in the game, even Chadley. I'm just kidding. I like Chadley. I'm not 100% sold on this character. I was just kidding. But every other like mainstay character that I have experienced from the original in Remake are all super well delivered to me, and I imagine that's why the game even has any resonance with anybody now, and why I think people are even willing to give this game a chance after its ending is because the character development and design of how they told those stories is just so unapologetically amazingly good. So good. So I'm only looking forward to anybody that they decide. That's why I'm like not as freaked out about Genesis 2, because I think that there's more room that they could really make that character. I want to see them take
exactly with Genesis 2.
Good. I want to see them like just attempt it. I don't even care if they fail. I think it would be really interesting to see them really, because Harbinger is a big artistic and like story direction that like is super a big broad stroke. Vice and Deep Ground is a big broad stroke. It's like, you know what? If you're gonna keep doing that, you better bring a game, and you better like prove to me that this is a good idea. And I feel comfortable. I feel confident that they're able to handle character stuff.
Yeah, so, I do too. And characters really are the honest narrative drive beyond the Harbinger, beyond Destiny, capital D Destiny, all that stuff that people I think have a issue with. I think really it is the characters that are gonna tell the story. And
I tell my girlfriend that all the time. Like, you could have a movie that has a pretty crappy plot and a non-interesting plot, but as long as you have really good characters, like characters that are super interesting and hilarious and also deep to a certain degree, they could carry a movie very well.
Yeah, there are movies absolutely that sit completely on the way of the character conveying themselves, even if it's poorly written. If you're connecting to somebody, or somebody's delivering a performance that can sell you or you can connect with, it doesn't matter what's going on.
Which brings up a concern, though. There's a lot of character real estate that we're moving into. Like, it's not just the established characters that we're all looking forward to meeting. Like, if Phantom Valentine is in the chat, I'm so sorry for what I'm about to say, but like, Vincent is a pretty flat character that could really benefit from like an extreme overhaul. Like, and he's also a fan favorite character. So like, I would like them to spend time on.
That's why I when I was younger as well.
Yeah, I would like them to spend time on the characters that are in Final Fantasy VII. But
I think that's what you have the other games for.
But they're adding all these characters. And so I am a little concerned. Like, we know that Roche is a big part of part 2. We know that from the Famitsu interview. Like, that they're adding Roche. Like, Roche isn't just some, like, thing. He's gonna be a big deal. Plus, we've got Kids Are Alright characters getting added. And so I do hope that they don't. So again, I want Genesis to show up in Intergrade, and it's for this reason. Not just because I think that we're in Midgar, but it's because if there's any time for us to explore that, it's in DLC, to be totally honest. Like, and if he shows up here and not in Nibelheim, it will like satisfy most of the fan base, because that was the worst thing about Crisis Core objectively.
I totally understand that, and I agree with it as well. I think so I felt that way the first time I played Remake, is that there wasn't enough time given to the characters in certain instances. I think I went in under the impression, or having played it, had the impression that the game didn't really give enough time to each individual character, whereas many of them got more than others. Yeah, I completely disagree with myself now. I think the art of storytelling is in the subtlety of it, and also the structure of 7 in general, which is that the structure of 7 is to highlight the individual characters' journeys at different points in the game. So you don't have to have just oh my god, like they're all sharing this moment. It's like, no, like Cosmo Canyon's for Nanaki. Like, don't fuck with the Nanaki shit. Like the game allows enough breathing room in the pacing of its original. This is why a lot of people may give me shit about this, but like one of the reasons why I think a lot of OG will be staying, and not in terms of like the context can be shifting, but like the point is that Final Fantasy VII's beauty is in the beats and allowing character moment to breathe, and giving characters that time. I think Remake has a very, very conscientious moves. They make a ton of moves on that alone. It's why we get to know Jesse, Biggs, and Wedge, because it's like, okay, we have so much time now just for this one area. Why not like flesh these guys out? Because there's not a lot else going on, and there's parts of the story that you're only involved with them.
Yeah, and even Tifa and Barrett were given, I think, very delicate treatment. Like, it was both a lot more, but also like there's this expectation that they're going to have their moments later. And I think the way they did that was so perfect.
I want to mention this because it's my favorite moment, and it completely like goes off of what you just said, Clark, which is that in Final Fantasy VII Remake at the beginning, and this is one of my favorite moments to talk about, is Sephiroth says to Cloud, "Hold on to that hatred, Cloud." And he's like, "Oh man, like I must have been like freaked out because of Mako." But the idea is that's what the villain wants to convey to that character as a negative. It's a negative growth thing. Like, he wants to use that in order to take advantage of Cloud in some way.
Yeah, as long as he hates Sephiroth and keeps him within his memories, Sephiroth will always exist.
Right.
I think eventually it's going to get to that point, because as long as Cloud is around, Sephiroth always has a way to come back, in a sense.
Of course. And then, so here's the idea, right? Is taking that concept, right, from like a thematic standpoint, is just like that's something that the game or the movie, when that concept is introduced in like Advent Children, is that you need to let go of these things. You need to let go of that hatred. You need to like move on with your life. You can't just be stuck in this one thing. And Tifa and Barrett have the same moment later on in the game after Platefall, is that Tifa is mad, and Barrett consoles Tifa by saying, you need to hold on to that hatred, and you're going to use that hatred against Shinra. So the point is that that's not a character-defining moment as a resolution. That is the beginning of a much larger conversation, because it's the same conversation that Sephiroth is having with Cloud, just showing up in different characters for a structurally sound sort of like rising action of a story. Is that that is all setting up for more deconstruction of character, more exploration of Barrett, more exploration of like Tifa holding on to a bunch of shit. We know that Barrett's also holding on to a lot of shit, so that's probably why he says what he says to Tifa. But that's not good advice. It's not good advice. You don't want to be doing that. The game is telling us that that's not what they should be doing. So
I want to respond real quick to something in chat when you're done. Sorry.
That's it. I'm done.
I'm sorry. Did I cut you?
No,
off?
I actually didn't. No. Okay, that was literally the
Okay. I by the way, I do joke about muting Sleepezi, but I love listening to you talk. I could hear you talk for hours.
Me too.
So audio tape is coming out very soon, ladies and gentlemen, aka my next video. So if you want to go to sleep with that in the background.
Ultima brings up a point, and it's he's calling it now. Cloud will have to die for Sephiroth to finally be defeated, and there's definitely some merit to all that. I for one think that that all of what Aerith is doing is to sever that connection. I think even that inadvertently, Sephiroth may have done so too, by absorbing what he did in the in the final scene. Also, there's something specific about Cloud that makes him uniquely capable of breaking destiny and breaking ties. The Chadley dialogue, the proud, after you beat Pride and Joy, his dialogue is so strange.
Cloud just like tried his life.
Whatever.
So, okay, whatever.
Whatever is going on here, I don't understand it.
Did you guys lose me just now?
No.
Okay. No.
All right, good.
We were just talking about the moment being that Cloud's just so indifferent to.
Cool.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. But that
it might be a big deal later.
I think that is a big deal. I think whatever is happening there is like it's important for sure. But okay, so Blitz, this is your first time here, so let's ask you. And I've heard you. I've watched your videos, and I've heard you. You don't think that that's the real Sephiroth at the end? Talk to us about that.
Well, all throughout Final Fantasy, anytime we come across in the original game, anytime we came across Sephiroth, it was always a clone. Like, it was always a reunion clone, a failed experiment, so to speak. I think that those other ones that we met, like Marco and the other one in Sector 5 with the kids, I don't remember if he had a
49 and 2, yeah.
I think that that Sephiroth we fight at the end of the game, that the player gets to fight and control, like Cloud and them against, I think that he's one of them. It's essentially one of them right there. And then in the Edge of Creation, where we're getting destroyed, Cloud is just getting destroyed and embarrassed by Sephiroth. I mean, that's the true Sephiroth right there.
Right.
And that's what I meant by that, is that like that.
Okay.
Because people are complaining all the time, like, oh, we already beat Sephiroth. Like, we can't fight him at the end of every game. And that's true.
Sephiroth was
I have a theory.
very not beat. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, that's true, because I have a theory in part 2, if they do end in a specific area, who the last boss could technically, who it could be, essentially. We'll talk about that in a little bit, though.
Oh, but, no, let's talk about it. Who is it?
Okay. So I was doing a series called Remake Part 2's like story. Basically, my ideas of what I think the story for Remake Part 2 might follow. And in this, I haven't finished it yet, but I'll give whoever is watching and you guys a little bit of a spoiler of the way I was going to wrap it up.
Okay.
But in the middle of, because right now I've only done 2 videos for it. In the second video, we come across Roche in Junon, when Cloud climbs up the second part of Junon to go.
Yes, where the Galnica is and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, and he's like by himself. He comes across, and we think we're gonna fight like Roche again. But in a hilarious way, one of the Shinra officers is like, "Hey, you two, get in uniform!" And like they make them like take
it's a dance
part in
battle.
the parade together.
Yes.
Yeah, and they basically go in the parade, and the whole time during this parade, Roche is trying to like attack Cloud, and Cloud is just like dodging this shit, and just like it just looks hilarious. And
I'm gonna be 100% honest. The idea of a panicking crowd in Junon during a fight and having that be like even a thought sounds so fucking cool.
Yeah, I would so much better than what will happen.
Push the limit of the PS5 and just have like people literally freaking out, and like you're shoving and he's trying to get to you. I can see the trailer for this already, if I'm going to be honest. Yeah, I'm
and it just ends up devolving into something where people are like, whoa, we absolutely love that, and the ratings are like off the charts and all this crazy stuff. So they absolutely love it, and they grab Roche and Cloud and make them do the honors of like entertaining Rufus in a sense.
Oh,
and
shit.
Whatever happens, and
that would be
the plot, Cloud gets away, and essentially the story takes place again. And then at the end of this series, I was going to tie it up like in this hypothetical video that I was making. The story ends in Nibelheim, right? For reasons, just because like we don't know exactly where it's going to go. So I was like, whatever, I'll just end it at Nibelheim. So the final boss wouldn't be Sephiroth. It wouldn't be Genova. It would be a Hojo juiced up Roche. Like Roche got experimented on, or like somehow Hojo got in touch with Roche after Cloud like embarrassed him, and maybe he wanted like in a way like more power to like compete and like take on Cloud. But Hojo finally, you know, recognizes who Cloud is, and he's like, you can't beat him, not with like that regular ass power you have. You're a third class soldier. So essentially, he juices him up, does whatever you know Hojo does, and essentially in Nibelheim we come across Roche again, and he's like the final boss if Remake does end in Nibelheim or around that area, so to speak.
I think that's
are you okay? Go on.
I was gonna say that's not a bad idea at all to me, because especially based off of like what developers have said about the ending of part 1 being that they wanted Roche to return for the ending, it almost seems more fitting for him to begin maybe a conclusion process to a degree. And I actually had a very similar. So yours is way more like the fact that it feels very natural to me in my mind to see like this Junon sequence of events. I actually am so sold on that. That's all I want from it now.
Just imagine, hey, yo, those guys' choreography was amazing. We want them right now, front and center.
Yeah, it's fucking fantastic, and it's a great way to utilize that mini game, or maybe put a twist on it. But one of the things that I looked at with Roche specifically was how like vibrant of a character he is he's like this, he's like revving like the engine, like he's full of life, and he's just ready. It's like the fire is like ignited in me, right? So but those candles kind of burn out pretty quickly, and it was always I always had this in the back of my mind, where I think the reason why he's so like outward and expressive is because I think that's going to become an example of degradation from what Shinra mentions to Cloud is that eventually the mind starts to degenerate, and I think what they're going to express that through mostly is Roche's character, and you're going to see him become less and less and less expressive. So like as you go through the game, he's like less and less expressive, and that could definitely end where you're talking about, where he's just full on Hojo experiment, like just, I don't know, maybe Genesis G cells or something at that point to just rope that in there. Why not? I could totally see that happening. And
it's upgraded to second class or first class, you know, by the end.
They actually explain in the Ultimania that he is strong enough to be a higher rank, but chooses not to. So there's something, there's something about his personality that makes him not want to be stronger.
Well, maybe he doesn't get to ride bikes anymore. Maybe like he doesn't get to do recon. That's the selling point. It's like, do I get to my bike? And they're like, no.
And I think Roche is actually
Cloud I mean, Sephiroth never goes on a bike.
That's so true.
Hey, man.
Oh my gosh. That's a new marketing tactic, Square, that you need to open up. Sephiroth on a fucking bike, dude.
On a hoverboard. He rides a hoverboard for sure.
Well, and you know what's so funny about that? The back of the truck that they ride in.
Yeah, I know.
Right? Is it gonna be a truck, or is it just gonna be Cloud or Zack on a bike with Sephiroth?
Yeah, that would be there was a lot of shippers that would just they would eat that up. Like, who's lucky?
Cloud
Pierre?
Sitting in like the passenger bike,
he's in the
passenger little.
Oh yeah,
bike.
Oh man. So all this adorable headcanon aside, I too have wondered, and a lot of people have speculated that it's really hard to make this a 3-part game. Like, I think part 2 will have to be really, really well. Of course, I'm
calling right now.
That's why I ended at Nibelheim, because I could see it 4 parts.
Yeah,
and with Nibelheim you would have.
And Cosmo Canyon's with you. Viz is with you, and I kind of, it does seem like a really good place to both start and finish part 2, right? Because Calm, the Nibelheim flashback, and I'm gonna be honest. I have trouble figuring out how they're gonna end that with a good boss fight. And Roche is, I mean, it's good. It's hard to say, like. I think it'd be, if it ends up being Nibelheim again, it'll be another like metaphysical
Sephiroth
fight again. Like it'll be more about that. The other thing Ultimania does touch on, I do want to just say this for clarity's sake because people are DMing me to mention this, is that in the Ultimania it does classify that the question mark Sephiroth is a form that nobody in the party has encountered before, is the one. So the same Sephiroth that you appears at the edge of the highway and you fight is the same one as the Edge of Creation Sephiroth. It's not a clone.
I did want to bring up that, and I also wanted to go back to the Vincent thing that I forgot. But sorry, go for it. Sorry.
I actually so if it ends there, if they somehow like push the limits of this game and make it end either at the Temple of the Ancients or the City of the Ancients, I think, and I hope they lean into this, I think this would be the way to go. The best final boss for part 2 would be Cloud. Because they are leaning into his mental breaks a little bit more. Like he has to get prevented from straight up murdering people twice in the game. Once by Tifa, once by... Like, he's gonna end Johnny's life. Like a cold Terminator. Like, just, you're gonna die. And then same with... Yeah, exactly. Like, straight up Viggo Mortensen in, like, you know, Russian mob movies. Like, you're gonna fucking die. And so it seems like they're leaning into his break a little bit more. So there is potential that like you have to all of a sudden fight. I don't think Cloud kills Zack. That was a joke that I wrote, Slime Memo. I've had to live that one down. I wrote that as a joke that it would be sweet if like the intro sequence to part 2 is that we see the end of the Terrier Timeline thing is actually that Terrier Timeline Terrier Timeline was just like a Genova illusion, and right before we get to the gates of Midgar, like Cloud gets possessed by Genova and kills Zack, and like but anyway, so I have to live that down. But I said that on NSP stream, and people thought I was serious, and so now I'm associated with that theory. I don't actually think that's going to happen. It was hilarious to think about. But anyways, I do think that would be a really good dramatic turn. Because Cloud assaults Aerith at the end of the Temple of the Ancients thing when he turns over the black
shit out of her.
Yeah, like, he just beats her.
And if you let it roll on, he just keeps on punching her.
Yeah.
Mercedes, totally. Thank you for hosting, by the way. I just actually became aware of Mercedes thanks to Night Sky Prince, who does great voices and
that's fantastic.
Yeah, and is hoping to be a part of Final Fantasy's cast one day, and I think based on her performance, she deserves it. So thanks for showing up, Mercedes. We're talking about remake.
I thought you were the football player, Mercedes Lewis. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, that's where my lore series ends. Thank you so much, guys.
Anyways, okay, you can talk now. I'm sorry. Sleepezi.
No, it was okay. I did want to bring up really quickly because we did talk about memories before.
Vincent, right?
I was going to say for the Sephiroth thing is that because there's a Sephiroth connection to the live stream at that point, and with whispers and what we talked about with memories, that also has a lot to do with like the wing imagery also at the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So if there was like somebody mentioned in the comments a long time ago, it's like, where's Sephiroth? He's in the Northern Crater. Well, the thing about Sephiroth at that point is that he is in touch with like the live stream or involved in that particular function of the live stream at that particular point in the game. Like whether he's stuck in the materia or not, he's in tune with the planet. So like anything that's happening with the live stream, with Aerith with memories or future Sephiroth with memories, like you can just paint it across the board that like whatever Sephiroth has access to is everything that Sephiroth presently in the story would also have access to in that frame of mind. So just to keep that. But as far as Vincent being a one-dimensional character. I think that there's so much. This is again a Genesis argument, but Vincent has way more to work with, which is that Vincent was also a Turk.
Yeah.
At some point in his history, and
you could get some crazy development.
You could have a lot of interesting dynamic between interactions between the Turks and Vincent. It's like, I know what your job is. Like, I know what you do. And also, essentially with Deep Ground, and I don't want to get too far into that, but Vincent's father also has a lot to do with, like,
that's right,
the inception of the experiments that happen, that create the experiment that leads to Genova experimentation. Like, that so where Gast is like the most important as to discovering him, Grimoire is the guy who created the hypothetical situation on paper, is that if you take these powers like Mako energy, or in the case of Dirge of Cerberus, stagnant life stream, which we do not have to discuss, and inject them into unborn children, you could yield a more powerful like soldier or being or something like that. So that thought is what leads all of the into Sephiroth. Exactly. literally that. So, and here's the kicker, right? Is that Grimoire has a bandana across his neck. And that is he has like a what do you call it? Just, he has like some cloth around his neck. And then Vincent wraps that around his forehead. Not while he's a Turk, but once he becomes the Vincent that we know in the coffin. And the idea of him being in the scarf, thank you very much for writing that. That's fantastic. The idea is that he's atoning not only for his sins, perhaps, but maybe the sins of his father as well. That has spurred on literally the coming of the worst thing possible that mankind has ever faced. So I don't know. There's a ton. There's so much that you can do with that character. I'm more excited about the Turk stuff, if I'm going to be clear.
What if they flip the script on us and like Hojo actually used like Vincent's like cells to I guess impregnate Lucrezia,
or he just did it the old-fashioned way.
Oh God!
Well, no, I mean, because they were
romantically involved. They were romantically involved.
Yeah, but yeah.
Like, what if they do that? Like, it's not actually Hojo is his father, so to speak. What if, like, because there's lots of different things. Like, remember they talked about back in the day how the original plan or one of the ideas that the developers had pitched was to make Aerith and Sephiroth like brother and sister.
Yeah.
So, and
it's a weird one, but yeah, I totally see where that's coming from. They still have the same parallels, I think, in terms of like, I guess, power. They're very
light, darkness, same hairstyle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just the opposites, but same power. So
I think I mean, it feels like one of those like super cheap, like it's always kind of been there, and if they cash in on it, they better do it right. Like, they better really do it right. Like, Vincent being Hojo's or being Sephiroth's dad has been like around in the canon for a very long time, and Dirge was actually the opportunity to kind of like really specify like, okay, who is it? And Hojo's, and it was like they kind of said, yeah, no, Hojo, and they kind of made, and it's still, look, it's weird, all right, it's weird that Hojo can pull a game like that, but remember,
literally, Sephiroth's looks comes 100% from his mother. Then,
well, dude, did you see Hojo on the beach?
Rips.
Yeah, in a full lab coat.
Yeah, in a full lab coat, but still surrounded.
He could pull.
Still surrounded. So you know what that means, dude.
He injected himself with Genova aroma.
I think it's pretty clear that he's.
I hate to say it, but I think what that's all that whole beach sequence is going to be is like a bunch of different AI chattily, like sort of like AI robots that are all ladies, and they're just going to be like, they're all digital ladies, and I can totally see that happening now. And I didn't mean to curse.
I just think Hojo.
I think that might be the case because no one realistically.
Hojo in a Speedo? Gene, I want to see it.
Dude, Hojo is packing heat and we all know it. Let's just say it.
Chadley, by the way,
he's slanging.
Dude, I'm saying it so much, bro.
technology. I'm just saying the same technology to create women for himself because he's literally the most creepy person on the planet.
If that happens, that will be so creepy. And I love it. I love the idea that it's not just that, it's just like he has a bunch of weird little children around
Josh
him
said, I don't need this image in my head,
Sorry.
guys.
I don't even know why I brought it up. The phrasing was
but Josh,
really
you're an artist. You're an incredible artist. This is all just, we're just giving you art ideas.
Josh, you have to create this fan art for us.
Thank you.
That would totally be on purpose, by the way, Downstorm. That would be on purpose to lower the resolution of that.
I would, Josh, I would make it like a permanent fixture in everything that I do moving forward if you draw this.
Speaking of Casa de Sol, Josh made some artwork the other day. If you don't mind me sharing, Josh, if I could DM it.
I would DM it.
So you could show it on your screen.
Absolutely.
I love this man's art.
I'm a fan of him, and I didn't even realize that I was a fan of him. I didn't know that he was here, I guess is how I say that.
So okay, what is your wildest remake theory, Blitz?
My wildest? Let me see. Hold on one sec. I'm trying to multi-window send this. I'm gonna DM it to you on Twitter.
How about
I could have just sent it on Discord, right?
Well, if you have the chat popped, yeah, just do that.
All right, gotcha.
I got too much.
No worries.
Like, this is too much, guys. Too much, guys.
Everyone is.
See, I'm dropping stuff. I mean, what is happening?
This is just for chat while everyone is distracted.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, yeah, I'm going all in on it. If I get banned.
Oh my god.
I get banned.
Is there a website or connection that J. Kim has that we can maybe shout, or if you want to shout out yourself, feel free.
Shout out yourself, Josh. You got the floor, my dude.
If you want to, of course. It's just a polite, the door is open, so to speak. Very cool. This is super cool. I love the angle and just the perspective of this.
We talked for like 3 hours in Discord about the perspective.
I don't even know how to do this stuff, if I'm going to be completely honest. This is like one of my weakest angles as an artist is perspective. So I'm always like super like pumped to see stuff like this. Super dynamic.
You are a tremendous artist, though. Anybody didn't catch yesterday's stream?
Cut the feed. No. This is very cool though. I very much like this. Especially like I love like the torso and like just the body work is really good. Really cool. Anatomy also is one of my least strong features as well, but it's super fun to do. I don't know.
While I pull that up, give me your wildest theory.
Oh, my wildest theory. Let's see.
PP.
Oh, yeah.
It's good.
We talked about the boss, the final boss being Roche. Hojo juiced up Roche.
That's a pretty intense theory for sure, but it's also one of those.
I tried so hard to include him as much as I could in this because I felt like I want to know more about this guy. So I'm gonna make his backstory, and Square could just send me the dollars later. It's all good.
Yeah, they're good for it. They're good for it. They got you.
Yeah.
I've gotten about 5 of them so far.
They need to approve my affiliate link, my affiliate application, man. I filled this thing out 3 times Square. What's going on, man?
Come on, dude.
I tweeted them about it.
Come on, guys.
Write your content, Square Nomura.
Like I saw a guy with 2 viewers. I'm not trying to knock the guy, but I saw a guy with 2 Twitch viewers and like 100 followers just streaming Outriders early because of his Square connects, and I'm like, man, where's mine?
You guys, can you all see this excellent artwork
created by Josh?
Created by Josh.
That's fantastic.
J. Kim Sketches on Twitter and Instagram.
Very cool. is super good. It's just super well done, I think. And I'm sure that we'll be getting a beach scene for sure in some capacity in the future that is a little bit more elaborate than just Hojo and interrogation of plot unraveling.
This is the first time, and we talk often, and if you've told me this before and I just totally forgot about it, I'm sorry, Sleepezi. But if that's what ends up happening with this with Hojo on the beach, is it's just like him and all his weird AI dolls, and like some of them are like, okay, because we kind of have this idea that that these weird robots that are built that are
they would all be the library robot.
Well, the Chadley bots. The Chadley bot. The Chadley bot is like an upgraded version of the Kate Sith Moogle doll. Is kind of well what I think is happening, and Sleepezi is responsible for me thinking that way. I'm not saying that's exactly what he thinks is going on.
Theory. This is what I was going to talk about, but yeah.
Oh no, okay, go on. I'm so sorry.
I'm totally on board with that. I believe that.
Okay, too. So if that happens in Remake Part 2, I don't know. I'm gonna buy like a RTX 3090 for Sleepezi. Right. That's what's gonna happen.
I get you a Chadley body pillow.
Yes, please.
Oh my god, that for sure exists, and that's gross.
That is super gross. I'm so glad that I'm being associated with him now, because this is just perpetuating an image and connection of this character that I do not have. But here's the outlandish theory for anybody who wants to. So there's no lore implication that you can fight, like I can fight back with anybody on this. It's simply an observation, and you can tell me whether or not I'm right or wrong. But I was looking at Chadley, and he doesn't have any particular features that define him as like anything in particular. Like there's no like symbols or anything on his person that has any sort of callback. But what there is a callback to is Kate Sith specifically. Kate Sith specifically is referenced in Chadley's little shoulder scarf. And this is done through the color scheme of Chadley, which is white, black, red, and gold, which are only colors that show up on that one character, Kate Sith. And also his person is white. So the idea is that this character will eventually become, as Clark sort of mentioned already, is the not Kate Sith, but the Moogle doll to a degree. So Chadley is a preemptive introduction to a concept of what the Moogle doll is, which is a Reeve sort of side-along android. Mm-hmm. But this is just more fleshing out / setting up like the origin of like that dynamic. And they are two different characters, Kate Sith and the Moogle doll. So this would just be more of that in the future. But I only say this, and you can say that that's the stupidest thing in the world. Just look at the design of Chadley, and then look at a picture of Kate Sith right next to each other. And that's the one thing connecting them is just the color scheme. But I'm putting money down that that's where it's going to go. And I hate to say it, but that's just the gut instinct going. And I could be wrong, but that's mine.
I could totally see that, though.
I'm all in on it. And somebody brought up in chat that it is a sailor uniform.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're like, the Costa del Sol thing is happening. It is just going to be a bunch of Chadleys surrounding Hojo on that beach.
If that actually happens, that's incredible.
You're getting a 3090. That's all I'm saying.
I'm going to get some water myself really quick. I'll be right back.
No problem, man. Gotta stay hydrated. We didn't even get started yet.
Blitz, so how you doing over there? How's your life?
I'm doing phenomenal, man. Like, if I could take you guys to this time last year, I wasn't in a dark place. I was just really angry. Like, I was frustrated. I was really angry, and I just, I wanted this like so bad. Like, I wanted to have like my channel in the sense like where it is right now, and it was something that like I felt like it was so far away, but I was just like, fuck it. I'm just gonna go all in on Remake, you know, when it comes out. And I got it like 3 days before it released. I got it on the 7th. It came out on the 10th. And I recorded myself playing it, and then I started seeing people upload like early videos and noticed that they were making like combat stuff. So I started doing that, and fast forward to now, it's been such a journey, such a ride. I've met so many amazing people, so many genuine, amazing viewers and subscribers and Discord members, and it's just been like, it's like my extended family, you know. And it's like
your community is something else. I really do want to say that your community is just fantastically positive. And
thank you, man.
I think I really want to highlight that because I do think the fandom really needs that right now. Is to just unify under a banner of positivity that has all this space for, you know, for all of this. And so Mercedes mentioned that you posted your video in Ultima, and I know what Ultima is, but I loathe Facebook, but I eventually will make my way over there. NSP has been trying to get me there all the time.
Wait, who posted that? Who posted in Ultima?
Maybe NSP.
I'm not a part of Ultima. Oh, cool. Yo, that's amazing, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I made a video today. It was from our stream from 2 days ago, and it was basically just acknowledging the issues that have been going on within, because I was unaware to it. I really was. Like I use social media, but I rarely use Twitter. And I kid you not, I told chat, I was like, you know, I'm gonna make it a focus more to be more vocal on Twitter and try to use that as like another avenue to like get a little bit more exposure on topics and ideas and stuff for videos.
Yeah.
So in the process of me doing that, Twitter recommends you people that either talk about or like the same things that you like, right?
Sure, yeah.
So I started seeing messages from Soldier, and I started seeing messages from Night Sky, and I'm like, wait, what are they talking about? Like, what's going on with the fandom and Remake? And I started to like deep dive into it, and I saw Maximilian acknowledge a situation that had occurred as well, and I was like, whoa, what's going on right now? And I was like, I remember I immediately followed them, and we had a conversation via DM, and I was just blown away. Like I was literally on the outside, like just for a long time about it, and then when I found out about it, I did so much like research and digging on it, and I was just like, whoa, this is fucked up. Like,
yeah,
I get it. Like, you know, a lot of people see our like community that we have on my channel, and it's like overwhelmingly positive. And I know it's like silly to think that every single community is like that, but for a little bit I did. So I was shocked by it. I was like, what? This is actually happening, and it struck a chord with me. That, like, you know, I wanted to try to be a little bit more vocal on that sense, and I just tweeted out like Final Fantasy VII Remake fans, we have to be better. Like, you know, to quote Kratos in a way, but like we have to be better because this isn't right. You know, we should not be doing these things to these amazing people that have paved the way for so many others, including myself, just because they don't necessarily agree with a direction that something is heading in, like especially like attacking someone over that. Like, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Granted, of course, this is the internet. None of these people would do that shit in real life ever.
Yeah.
But it bothered me. So I made a statement on the previous stream on Tuesday, and I recorded it and edited it and posted it today, and it got great reception. Like, a lot of people really, the message resonated well with them, and we were able to essentially just have a large moment of like positivity, which was like, in a way, like today I was essentially like overwhelmed by it in a way.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, yo, this is amazing. Like, you know, we're getting all these like people over here, and they're like acknowledging like something that has been disgusting with over a year, almost a year now within the community. And now it's like, it's coming to light, and it has been coming to light over the last 2 weeks. I just feel thankful. Like, I feel happy that I was able to play a part in a way, a small part nonetheless, but like, you know, do something to at least bring that conversation to light, because a lot of people left comments as well that they were unaware that this stuff was happening, and they were wondering why they didn't see videos from them anymore on the subject, just as like I was. Yeah. I found out about it extremely late, and in the video I didn't really go into exact details as to what's been going on, because you know,
you don't want to feed the trolls, and
exactly.
And you know what? I think that it's fun. I think it's really important to note too that you've sort of created this bubble of a community with your content, and that bubble is a good microcosm of, I think, the overwhelming majority of the fandom, which is positive and beautiful, and that you were able to bring that and kind of bridge it into the larger group and let people see what you're about. And I think it's helping purify the water of the fandom, you know, because all it takes is a few particles to make it feel a certain way.
The geostigma.
Yeah.
And that's right. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad you said that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just got brought up with geostigma.
So, okay. I want to ask you this. This will be a quick question, and then get us back on track a little bit too. What's your top secrets time? What's your best top secrets time?
3 minutes and 20 seconds.
Nice.
I found out a better method recently, and I was gonna revamp that guide that I put out for it. Because in the initial guide, I think I got like 4 minutes, but recently I did it on stream and I got like 3:23.
Oh, nice. Anybody in chat want to tell them what mine is?
Oh God.
Just kidding. Hey, Sleepezi, what's yours? You know?
No comment on this.
Right,
I'm not playing on this. Game.
Okay. No more commentary. He will dog walk me at Smash. So, and it sounds like Blitz is a pretty serious smasher
and
too.
That's one of the reasons why before the stream started.
You guys have to see one of my subscribers. He's obsessed with like crazy challenges within Remake, and I think he has like 17,000 views on it right now, but as of right now he holds the world record for the solo Aerith top secrets.
I'm aware of him, and that is an incredible run. Like I can't touch that. I was tied for first for top secrets at 108, a minute 8, but somebody posted a 107 just recently. I mean, it took me so many runs to do 108 that maybe
you gotta get back on the grind. That's what it is.
Well, I think I'm gonna shoot for the Vice time for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I definitely want to see that, man.
Yeah,
I will.
For sure.
On that note, really quickly, one of the things I want to see with Vice, and one of the things that people don't know about him because he's heavily like the character is sort of weirdly presented at the last form of Dirge of Cerberus, but one of the things that he has in the DOC multiplayer is the abilities of each Sviet in the game. So Rosa the Crimson, Azul the Cerulean, and even like Shulk, he actually has all of their abilities. So if we don't get all of them present in the story per se, I want all of them to be presented specifically in Vice's fight as far as abilities. So we don't have to like, and this is the beauty of Square, is that they don't have to tell the audience that that's what's happening story wise, but just through battle alone, being able to like, and a lot of people already know about like the S&D stuff as well, which is like sort of the reason why like story implication wise, he might be showing up. But that would be like a really nice touch for a battle. So like sequencing, you know, and we already know about stagger states and different phases of a fight. Like that would be the way to do that, in my opinion. Each phase has its own introduction of an ability, and it just builds on top of the next. And especially if it's a challenge boss, that's the way to do it. That's the way to do it, Square.
One thing with Vice that has been, I was wondering was, Nomura in that interview when they initially, at the same night that Ataiki Mochi translated that interview that Famitsu did with Nomura talking about Vice,
right?
He said that he's a VR challenge, and then he had to put a shirt on him, you know, like he put an outfit on him or whatever, right? We saw two different footages though. We saw footage with Vice with a shirt off and with the shirt on, and he never specifically said if he comes into play in the story, so to speak. But like, I wonder where that footage of him without his shirt
we all think he comes in like, and it might be like we see him like the shirtless him is really him down in deep ground, and he's like reaching out through SND to the VR, and that's what we're seeing. But I know that Viz thinks, and I'm not against the idea that something they run into, Yuffie and Sonon run into down there is, I mean, they're right outside the door to where Vice is. If the structures are the same. The structures are a little different, but it could just be upgrade. But it looks the same as like the entrance to where like Vice is. So
very similar.
Very similar, yeah. And so I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
I think also depending, because the scene is a reference specifically to a scene that takes place in Dirge of Cerberus, where Vice records himself essentially announcing to the public that he is going to track down like all these people and essentially slaughter them. So that's what that reference of him shirtless is, why you have that filter on top of it too. It's just all a callback to that. So specifically, that is story implication. Him showing up in the VR cutscene or in the VR battle simulator seems to be hinting more at that being a complete aside. So the fact that they're making a very clear distinction between those two characters, or I guess those two moments being shown, I would not be surprised at all if what we run into is because Vice is present, he's just not conscious, he's not in his body, is what the idea of S&D is that he literally leaves his body to be a part of the internet, which good luck Vice on that end. But so that would be the story implication of why there's a Vice in the story, but also one in the battle simulator. So it literally perfectly sits in Dirge of Cerberus, the lore that's already present. So, and
in my Intergrade like theory video that we talked about, like, you know, Yuffie saving like members of Avalanche, I also talked about like in a little brief area, you know, when obviously Yuffie and Wedge and them fall hypothetically into deep ground before Cloud and party go in there, right? Because you remember there's 2 times Cloud and party go in there. There's the first time when they go in and they find Wedge, and then they retrieve his body and they take it back. When you're playing as Barrett, I believe, or like just throughout that entire facility, you could hear Behemoth in the background just like freaking out and like raging. What if during that time, while Cloud and them are in there, Yuffie and Sonon are fighting Behemoth?
That's a good.
Pretty exciting.
That's that crossover that you want. That's that stimulating of my lore brain where I'm like, that's good storytelling.
So have you watched all of Sleepezy's videos?
I've tried.
I know, I know.
Because
but do you know about the Behemoth thing at least? Do you know that?
No, I've seen your early beginning ones, right? Because I remember Maximilian referenced you in the Easy Allies podcast, because I remember he said the Sleepezi stuff, and I'm like, Sleepezi stuff? What's that?
Did you know that? Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
I honestly thought you were aware of this. That's how I found out about you through Max.
Sleepezi just found out that he's a big deal like yesterday, to be totally honest.
Oh wait, dude, are you serious? That's why I was freaking out when he joined my stream like 4 months ago. I was like, what? He's here?
He mentioned me. I can't believe this didn't.
Yeah, check the Easy Allies. It's like
I didn't know
3-hour video.
I didn't know.
I think you might have like just shook something loose in me that
he literally says the Sleepezi stuff, and I was like, what's a Sleepezi?
Okay,
so I googled it. Well, I looked it up, and I stumbled upon your videos, and I watched the ones that you had posted. But since then, you've obviously posted more, and I haven't gotten a chance to actually go through all of them. But I definitely will for sure.
When you get just I know you want to be really excited about that, and you deserve to be. But can you explain the Behemoth Type 0 thing to chat and to Blitz right now?
Okay, so I was doing my typical research for a video, which is essentially watching and binging a bunch of artwork / cutscenes of each game in order. And I just had, this is completely by accident. I want to be very clear. I was not looking for this at all. But there is an enemy, a boss character, a villain in Dirge of Cerberus named Azul the Cerulean. He's the blue-haired giant dude. He's a certain type of race in Final Fantasy that I'm not particularly familiar with. Anyway, the point is that he transforms into a behemoth in that game. And I had the artwork for him up and was looking through, because I just throw a bunch of fucking images, literally every image I can find, no matter like how irrelevant it is, I'll just throw it in a folder and like start cycling through them just to like look for something. And lo and behold, a picture of Type 0 Behemoth showed up, and the Type 0 Behemoth has the same horns on its head as Azul the Cerulean from Dirge of Cerberus. And I cross-referenced every single Final Fantasy Behemoth. Yeah. Just to be absolutely certain that this was something of importance. And it is 100% confirmed that the Azul horn is not anywhere else but that Type 0 Behemoth. So
that specific one.
That specific one. So that Type 0 Behemoth is a reference to Azul the Cerulean specifically. Making it the other reference to a different character in Remake that nobody has talked about at all. So so this is why when I go off on Deep Ground or anything like that, is that there's a ton of this stuff that's already present in the game that people aren't fully aware of. And that's DOC lore, like right off the gate. So the idea is that Fiats are the product of multiple experiments, and they're the single like success story. So the reason why Vice is Vice, Shulk is Shulk, Azul or Rosso, they're all just the product of completely super random experiments that were the only success. And Azul is the product of the metamorphosis experiments, which is what and there's no huge elaboration on that, but it's most likely what allows him to transform into the Behemoth. So that being said, is that Type 0 is most likely a failed experiment that leads to Azul, and why he's in this cage with like the other failed experiments that are down there.
Right.
So, and all of that seemed to be pretty just like fun lore asides until Intergrade came out, where you have literally Deep Ground being featured so heavily. And the failed experiments are also a reference, for those who are not keen on that either, is that they are a reference specifically to Genesis as well. So
and Type 0 is a reference to Reactor 0, which is...
That's so true. And it's also very true for First Soldier as well.
No relation to Final Fantasy Type 0.
Well, and that's the funny thing is there's a huge
I've never played. I bought that game for the demo for Final Fantasy 15 episode de Ska. It had so when you back in the day before 15 came out, you could buy Final Fantasy Type 0 and you get a demo of 15, a very early demo of 15. The gameplay completely changed in the final product. And that's how I haven't even played Type 0.
Well, the only connection there is the directors or the writers. Somebody who made Dirge of Cerberus is directly involved.
So Hiroki Chiba, who is the scenario writer for Dirge of Cerberus, was the director and lead scenario writer for Type 0. And World of Final Fantasy, which is why the word grimoire shows up in all of those, and why Shelky appears in World of Final Fantasy.
Literally all of those names that are referenced are the only ones that don't have any representation from the Deep Ground lore. Is Rosso the Crimson doesn't have a place, Shulk doesn't,
Argento,
and Nero doesn't. And Argento doesn't, but I almost feel like she would be the perfect character to show up, ironically, and also
Rosso?
is obscured. No, Argento. I think
yeah,
would be a perfect like way to start a battle simulator or like a discussion of like or equipment or whatever it is. I think she would be perfect. For those who don't know who Argento is, she only shows up in the multiplayer of Dirge of Cerberus. Which she creates the weapons that Vice uses and Shulk uses, and is sort of like the mentor / mediator between like the heads of Deep Ground and the Sviets. So she's like, I guess the middleman for that discussion, and apparently extremely powerful. But you never see her again after the multiplayer. She doesn't even fight in that. So it'd be nice. It'd be a nice touch. Anyway,
and And so, yeah, that actually, I do want to ask you real quick. I'm not sure how much time you have, by the way. I don't have.
I go to bed at like 7 a.m. always.
Oh my god.
Yeah, well,
the hustle.
You too, bro. So I probably don't have that much time. I probably maybe got 20 more minutes in me tops. But I do want to bring up with you, Blitz. What do you think of First Soldier and Ever Crisis?
Excited for both. I was a big my channel, when I first made my channel, I was also trying to do like, shooters and stuff. Like I was really good at Call of Duty. Still am. Like I play from time to time with my cousins and stuff. So I love battle royales in a sense, and I'm very interested into seeing what First Soldier, as a battle royale brings to the fold for Final Fantasy in that sense, like RPG world elements being brought into a battle royale. I kind of want to see what they do with that, because I saw summons and shit, and I'm like, what? You know how mad I'd be if I was the last person left and I just get jumped by Ifrit? There's nothing I could do about that. But aside from that, the story elements that they talked about in a little bit, right? There was an interview, and I believe it was the same Famitsu, where Nomura said that there is going to be some references to that specific character. He didn't say what character. It could be Vincent. It could be Sephiroth. I don't know what exactly it could have been.
Probably Sephiroth, like based on the way he said it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see, like, he said it's not going to have a lot of story. Like, it's clearly a mobile game that, is a battle royale as well. It's not going to be really much story elements to it. But the Ever Crisis
chapter dedicated to it will have significant story content written by Nojima.
And that I'm insanely excited for. Like, Ever Crisis is something that I am... It's swear to God, if they released it all at the same time, like if it wasn't going to be like a monthly thing, I would have probably streamed like 24 hours just me playing it like nonstop.
For sure.
Like it's just
that's so true. It's a good point.
Fire up BlueStacks, fire up LD Player on PC. I'm playing that stuff in the best quality that I can for stream, for whatever. That I'm 100% on board for whatever Crisis is trying to do. Can't wait.
I'm so glad that we're on the same page with that, because I'm on the same page with both of those games. I think
me too.
It's incredible to like think that I would be playing a mobile game, because I was never keen on ever. I was just very neutral, I should say, towards those things. But with Ever Crisis, the lore implication of Ever Crisis, the elaboration and the potential to make a very consistent story for Remake to stand very, very solidly, because as we might know, the compilation is a little all over the place, and we're not made by the same people throughout the entire thing. There's oversight, but there's very clear differences in things that people are trying to say. I make this a point in the video that I'm making for it specifically, but like Crisis Core was made with the idea of tying the compilation together. Like that was the burden that it had placed on itself. And the thing is that
that's why it's called Core.
Exactly. Yeah, before Crisis and then the Crisis Core, right? So the idea there though is that it was a little too late, I think, at that point, because unlike what Remake seems to be doing, where it's just a consistent story and very it already knows what it's trying to say. I think that Remake has a very clear idea of what the overall message of it's going to be. Whereas the compilation was like, we're developing this thing that we want to convey, but we are figuring it out as we go. And that is ultimately why Crisis Core kind of falls a little flat for me, is that it just takes on too much of the burden of trying to hone in the message that it's trying to get across. So Ever Crisis is literally the solve to that problem. Especially since
one entire team developing the whole and overseeing the whole project, so this way it's fully coherent and we're not going to see dips in consistency, which I absolutely love, because
that's my deal.
Because I was crying like a baby when I played Parasite Eve 1 and then I played Part 2 and I'm like, what? It's a whole different team.
Rough.
Why does it feel like Resident Evil?
Yeah.
What are they doing?
That hurts my heart to think about.
I'm a huge Parasite Eve fan.
So I can. So you're in for our opening First Soldier all-star stream then, right?
Oh, we're gonna get every Final Fantasy community member, I think.
Absolutely,
who's
it's gonna be, and we're just gonna live stream it. Yeah, all of it.
That's how we do it. That's how we do it.
Battle rotating teams and everything.
We're all gonna team up.
Loser has to destroy their channel and bring their content.
We just team up on MJ Gallagher.
He's gonna be. Watch him be the guy who wrecks like everything.
I believe it. That guy, he's got secret power. I don't know. Like,
that's true. That's true.
He puts you in his place. So I one of the things I really liked your oh, I love it.
Oh, that's
original.
So
the original. This is my original book copy. I lost the disc. I lost the case. I saw this at my mom's when she was moving, and I'm like, I'm taking it.
That's sweet. So cool. The art for that is amazing.
I found a bunch of my classics. I got the Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Memories. That was one of my favorite PS1 games. The same friend that got me a greatest hits copy of hold on one sec. This copy right here. This isn't my original one, but it has all like the discs for like ff7 in it, which is pretty dope. And it's not like a masterpiece typo either, which would be awesome, but he wasn't trying to spend that much money on that.
I have the same copy, by the way, of it. I don't have it anymore. I have since lost most of my physical copies of any of the games that I played as a child, but I had the same game for Yu-Gi-Oh! As well. That's amazing. That's the game I want to actually get to next.
The Final Fantasy IX Japanese like copy with all the like crazy cool artwork that they have on this. It's pretty dope. When you open it up and look, the character art on the discs.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
America, what are you doing, dude? Where did that money that you could have made gone? Silly. That's amazing looking.
And I still have like this these OG Dragon Ball games that I had from back in the day. These imported Dragon Ball games.
Oh, I've definitely ripped open like
Final Bout.
Used a straw to like mod my PS1 so that it would play foreign games, or use like the other. I played Ultimate Battle 22 also, dude. I have all that. That's crazy.
Still got the disc and everything. My dad, bless my dad's heart, he he knows I love Dragon Ball, and I'm obsessed with Dragon Ball, especially like even till this day. Like, you know, he'll buy me Dragon Ball like shirts and stuff randomly, and I'll show up at his house and he's wearing like a Vegeta shirt. I'm like, yo, run that right now, please. Like, take the shirt off of his back, and like, all right, see you later. I'm going back to my place.
Fantastic.
But I think when I was a kid, he tried to surprise me by modding my PlayStation with a mod chip, and he fucked it up.
He
broke it, and he felt so bad. He went and he bought me a new PlayStation 1, and it was the tinier white one with the it's like a really small PlayStation 1 mini
circle with this tray.
He bought me that one, and he bought me at the same time. He went to this anime store that was in the mall back in the day, and it came with a sticker instead of a mod chip. Instead of having to open up your PlayStation and mod it with a mod chip, because he completely messed it up with the solder, he got this sticker you just put underneath the eject tray, and you just insert this magic CD.
Yeah.
Put it in there, let it run, and then open it up, put in your imported game, and you're good to go.
Sleepezi and I have had this exact conversation. We've done this, right?
Yeah. This is one of my favorite gaming moments. What you're talking about is figuring out that
I think we just became best friends. All three of us.
We
should do a buddy adventure together. Where do you think we should go? Puerto Rico? Yeah.
Probably Costa del Sol if possible. Is that a real place? Is there an equivalent? No?
No,
all right. Well, we'll
stupid
Northern Crater. Dude, we'll just do a Man vs. Wild in the Northern Crater. How does that sound? That sounds a perfect idea. We'll just
I'll bring the Mako juice.
Thank you, Dave. Perfect. That's all we need. It's super funny, that Final Bout. I remember playing that game as a child and being like, this is as close as I'm ever going to get to seeing these people fight. And it was just horseshit. It was just so...
Put up with so much.
But the one thing that I will give that game credit for is it felt really good to power up. And the look of that on PS1 graphics is timeless. I didn't know who Super Baby was at the time, and I was like, that was just super weird. And the voice acting in that is so bad too.
Yeah.
Amazingly bad.
The dub had gotten some characters' names wrong as well, like their actual the spelling of them. It was weird.
So really? Speaking of mobile games, I don't know how this happened, but apparently Fantasian just came out on mobile. It just dropped on the store. This is not a April Fool's joke.
You're talking about the latest Sakaguchi
game, yeah.
Great. I'm so glad that we're all keeping busy.
Well, yeah, because NSP just told us, and I was like, dude, it's April 1st. If that's what this is, I'm gonna be really mad.
That's how Sakaguchi would do that.
It's not in the Google Play Store.
Is it in the Apple Store? Is it one of those fucking things?
I don't know.
He got it at like 11.
I'm gonna be real mad. I'm gonna be real mad.
It was 11:59 p.m. I gotta get him.
This is literally, you fell right into the trap, I think, Babyseal. I think this is what this is.
He's saying it's not an April Fool's joke.
I mean, that's what you say when you're saying an April Fool's joke, to make sure that people don't immediately call April Fools.
I'm spelling it right. Fantasian, right?
Man, I hope he got me good.
Not an April Fool's 2 minutes ago from NSP.
Arcade exclusive? What?
Okay, we're way off track here, but
no, it's recent news. It's
potentially good news. Somebody figure it out for us in chat, and then okay. Crab A can confirm LOL. Exclusive to Apple. Yeah, it's Apple Arcade. All right. So, okay. All right.
Yeah.
You had an excellent video about, and this is something I want to talk about, and I feel like you're one of the only people that actually is ingrained in the combat system enough to actually talk about this. But I really liked your video that broke down all the ins and outs of how we're gonna move forward with materia and equipment in part 2. That's a big deal to me, and I'm with you. I agree with your overall take. Do you want to talk about what you think? What do you think's happening? Where's our materia going?
So,
gun to your head, you presented a bunch of options. Gun to your head, which one do you think's happening?
What I think is happening is I think they're going to revamp certain things, right? Some of the purple materia that we got, which are amazing materials. It's like you cannot put together a interesting or fun build without deadly dodge or ATB assist or skill master. You know, a lot of those things are very important for, like, you know, speed runs and stuff too, as you would know with your 1 minute top secrets time, right?
That's right.
But I think that a lot of those materials, like obviously the HP ups, the MP ups, and the magic ups are going to stick around, as well as the luck ups, luck pluses and stuff. But I don't think that parry, deadly dodge, or ATB assist, skill master will return as materials. I think that they will be implemented as passive abilities that certain characters may be able to have access to or not. But if they do still make them materials, I would like to see, like, if you master that materia, you can equip it as a passive. You don't actually have to take up a materia slot for it, if that makes sense. Kind of like, you know, what they did with the weapons,
right?
With the proficiency. I would love that, because then that would free up so much space and be able to make more creative builds and figure out, like, if synergy materia is actually good or not. Like, it's not. Long story short, it's not.
Total waste of a materia.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where I really hope that they do something along those lines with that, because that's you know, that's my bread and butter with the channel, is like creating like crazy different builds. Like, I have a build that gives you an instant limit break anytime you want.
Oh, with self-destruct and
self-destruct with reprieve and carbuncle materia. When they release you being able to download that summon, the digital deluxe version, I experimented with it, and you can actually, like, super enhance this build because carbuncle summon, unlike other summon materials, can be used in any battle.
It's the only good summon, to be totally honest.
Yeah.
It's the most broken summon.
Yeah, you can use it to kill yourself over and over again, get an instant carbuncle, have carbuncle come back again and utilize his power immediately because whoever the caster is, if they die, their summons exit move gets implemented. And for him, he revives everybody.
Yeah.
And it'll bring you back and you can keep on self-destructing away and take down. You could throw out 3 limit breaks in a span of 30 seconds with carbuncle summon materia and the instant limit break build.
That's pretty spectacular. I haven't looked into I know that Babyseal is really into this, and you are as well, but like my level, the combat depth of this game is sort of like I have not gone like super into it. I actually admitted have only like really looked at physically played this game very little since I started my channel, only because I just am looking at lore and it doesn't require me to actually like physically go and play the game.
But that's the beautiful thing about this game. It's like, look how many different content creators exist for this one game in specific areas, you know, like there's the combat aspect of things, which I cover, and I think Craze Gaming covered for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
There's the lore, which Sleepezi and Babyseal like cover and predominantly talk about and have amazing discussions with. And then you had the news segments, of course, like any new updates or any new things coming up, and that was NSP and Soldier First Class. And there's just so many, like, you know, when people tell me that this game is just a button masher, it kind of hurts my core because I'm like, man, you're not playing it right.
Yeah.
I don't want to gatekeep. Like, if people enjoy this game on easy mode, good. Like, that's totally fine. I will say though that I will say that the combat was a 7 out of 10 for me until hard mode. And I think that kind of brings up something that you and I touched on in one of your YouTube videos. Hard mode in part 2. Are they going to do that? Because it's a little bit different now. Like the way that we're conceptualizing hard mode is in this filter of what Remake Part 1 did, which is only available after you beat it in normal mode. And it was scaled at a difficulty that was basically like you're supposed to play it at level 50. Like that was kind of the essence behind it. So in part 2, how do you think they could handle that?
Well, your comment that you brought up was a really good. I remember I told you I misread what you had written, right? And it was actually really interesting because I could totally see them doing that. Like the game detecting you have save data from Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1. Would you like to transfer your stuff over? Of course, yeah, let's do that. Then you transfer your stuff over. You could either choose, or you could choose to play the game fresh. And with that, you essentially can get a hard mode difficulty, or hard mode would be accessible from the beginning, where you can continue in hard or whatever they try to implement, a first class mode or something like that, where you carry over your materia builds, you carry over all your stuff, and you're level 50, so to speak, but you can start off with a harder difficulty in that sense. And I think that that is a great idea. I would love to see them implement, because normal at times did feel like a little like, okay, whatever, you know.
Hard mode press square to win. Yeah
hard mode really pushed you to like think about certain elements. Okay, if I use this now, will I have, you know, MP later for this moment? And obviously your first playthrough, you're not really thinking that, because it's, you don't really know when a boss is supposed to be coming up or not, you know. And they added extra bosses into Remake as well that didn't exist in the original game, and those story points, right? So essentially you'll have this like thing in the back of your mind now that you've played Remake Part 1 and you're playing on hard mode. Are you gonna run around and like, you know, use magic or like, you know, spam spells like willy-nilly like you did on the first playthrough of normal mode, or are you gonna like take your time and, you know, go through it?
Right.
And it's exciting. It's exciting to me. I
do
hope that their hard mode actually, you know, like what we talked about, gives a little bit more mechanics as far as like bosses doing different things than they did on normal mode.
Exactly.
Just to spice it up.
And again, hard mode was like my life. I love hard mode. It somehow worked really, really good. I do think it was kind of an accident. And what I had mentioned on the video in question, and please check out the comments you know, and please comment, like, and subscribe, as Blitz will let you know. The analytics show that so many people watch his videos but don't subscribe, so please do that. It's not
appreciate you.
Yeah. So, anyways,
that's what we're here for, dude.
Yeah,
support.
Exactly. Yeah, support.
So, I try to make it hilarious. There is the majority of people that get very frustrated with it, and they write to me about it, and I'm like, yo, it's a joke, man. I'm only wasting like 20 of your seconds. You're gonna watch the rest of this 13-minute video.
Yeah, so it's almost like
it's proved to work. So it, like, analytically, like, people get really mad about those spots, but they actually boost numbers. So
I'll lose 1 or 2 subscribers because of it, but I'll gain like 200 per video because of it.
Yeah, and it's almost like you're trying to do this, prepare content for all these people, and it's your own time and value, and
what a weird concept.
I know. So, what we were talking about on that video is that the only thing that with hard mode that was a little irritating was that the items being disabled and the no MP regen felt like it was an artificial difficulty spike. Like, it didn't have any lore precedent. It didn't make any real sense. So it was it's almost like something that you would do if you were a challenge runner to artificially increase difficulty. And it somehow worked really well because you had to be creative to do it. But in part 2, it would be nice if there were some organic methodology by which you can still use all the stuff that you use, but the game's still harder, and it's still harder to the same scale. Like, you make it to the Zolam and it sucks. Like, it's the hell house of hard mode remake, you know, just like it just sucks. Like it's, you know, it's something that you can, all over again. It feels like From Software designed the Zolam fight. You know, like, I would like something like that. You know, really organic, but also manageable. Like, because one of the cool things about hard mode remake is that it probably can be done by a lot more people than, say, like the From Software level of difficulty break. Because if somebody gets really lost, they can go onto BltzZ's channel, follow the exact guide on what to do, and win. You know, and so that, I think that's a fun level of accessibility. You can still see the extra content that's locked behind hard mode, which I would also like to see a fuck ton more of in part 2. I would like hard mode to unlock more than just a Chadley cutscene with varying degrees of value, either that's extremely critical to the plot or not at all. You know, so I would like to see that.
I think one thing that Blitz mentioned in the video that I actually really appreciated, just the thought considered in it, was the fact that you would level up just like you did at the beginning of Remake as soon as part 2. And what level was it exactly, if you can remember off the top of your head? I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but
15 or 16.
15 or 16 is that you would literally start the same way that you would start the original game or Remake. Just getting that one level up, and just like to, again, bookmark, not only is that a callback, but it would be a really just nice touch to, like, signify, like, your character's progression, like your character's place in, like, how, like, your power level, essentially. But I think that, like, this idea of choice of hard mode would be the perfect time to introduce that too. Like, what a smart idea. Like, I was just listening to the concept of this, and I was like, a lot of what Remake Part 1 is from a lore perspective is an introduction to the story on not only, like, just the characters and all this other stuff, but, like, the bigger concept, in my opinion. And I felt like that was a lot to do with the combat as well, where it's like easy mode is just to get you, like, in tune with the idea of, like, what is going to be available to you. You might not be using all of it right away, and that's sort of what an easy mode is. But then, like, once you upgrade to hard mode, it's like, now you have to be creative. Now you have to, like, we're stressing the system here, and it's loose enough to be able to do some fucking crazy shit. But the idea for a part 2, in my mind, as soon as I saw, like, all the things that you could do and how you had to unlock that in part 1, was to say, okay, part 1 was just you figuring out what we were doing. And now for the rest of these games, we're going to take our hands off just a little bit. So I think by allowing people to choose a hard mode would be a really good signifier of exactly that concept. Just letting go and letting people just run wild continuously, because people already kind of get it. This game's been out for a while. People have done some crazy shit. Now let's just let them keep doing that just right off out of the gate. Like, I don't see... It's the same way that Kingdom Hearts 1 to 2 felt for me, combat-wise, where it was like, here's some experimental training wheels of like what could be fun in a an action RPG. And then Kingdom Hearts 2 is like, here's all of the crazy shit that we could have done with all of those systems. And I want to see more of that as terms of growth of the game. Is I want them to really like make everything that they've introduced that much crazier. I don't want them to pull back or keep this easy mode thing on. I think you should utilize all of your characters and all this other stuff. So
I hope to God they don't decide to nerf materia builds too, because one of the greatest things about Final Fantasy VII is being broken with materia and having unique combinations, miming Knights of the Round like 10 times, with HP absorb or something like that. So my biggest fear is like, because my infinite health build that I made for like Remake, it got it was on trending page, and that's what created like a surge back in like June for the channel. It got trending page, and I was like, shit, I hope they don't like nerf this shit now. Just like, let us be creative and like have a good time with the game, Square, please. And it seems like they didn't care. So they
did do some things in combat that felt like they made some adjustments last minute too, that made it just took the edge off the polish for only like, I think, deep combat divers. And one of the things that bugs me, I want to know if it bugs you too, the theoretical maximum stat boost presented by Magic Plus is not possible because you can only get 2 of those material.
Yeah, because it says that you can't, because it's 25%, right, for each one, and it says you can only do it with a max of 100. There's only 2. That's why, like, when I was playing back hard mode, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna find these other 2, and we're gonna be broken as hell.
And then you're just like, oh look, more healing materia.
Yep.
Yeah.
Heal HP. You know how many HP pluses I have that are level with 0 AP? So many. It's
What's your total playtime on your save? I feel like you're probably up there.
So PlayStation, PlayStation does an end of the year.
Yeah.
Let me boot this up. It does an end of the year thing telling you how many hours you put into a game.
Right.
PlayStation's is different from what Remake's actual time is, but Remake's actual time is the timer stops after 10 minutes.
Timer stops, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So on PlayStation, it says it's like crazy. Let me pull up the exact numbers. It's like well over 500 hours.
Oh my god. I think
let's see.
Sleepezi, I think I found the only other 500 pluser.
I was only just thinking about that. I was like, I don't know. Well, this might be
Anthony Giannuzzi, the one I was telling you about with the solo Aerith. He has 800 plus.
Yeah, I know he's probably the top.
That's what gets you that
Aerith solo run is honestly the most
beautiful thing that Clark has ever seen.
That's the most difficult thing I've seen.
I wish he was on right now. He's a mod on my channel, but he's for his job he travels a lot, so he's never in the same place.
I'm at 580 according to PlayStation.
How do you see it?
Oh, exactly? Actually, wait. So you go to PS go to the website, right? Or the PS app on your phone, either or.
I'm on the PS app.
Yeah.
I am gonna, while you're looking this up, I thought that there was actually a pretty interesting question in chat from Arsonia. Is that, do you 3 think that boss HP will remain gated into sections?
God, they better not, dude. They better not. The cinematic nature
of Remake's boss fights make changes to that system seem very difficult. I added the very because I agree.
Oh my god, please take that away. Take away the HP gate. Or like make it obvious. Suck. Yeah.
That shit sucked. That was how many times I saved up Limit Break and use it, and only 20% of that damage. 20% of the damage.
Only 20%. I love that. I agree. That felt really forced at a certain point when you were like, let's do something crazy, and then it's just like nothing happens. It's like, oh, like a lot of the structure of this is like working against itself, like where the system is literally working against the favor of like a limit bar, for instance. It's like you want to use that as soon as you get it, and then you use it and it means nothing. So, and you're not supposed to, how are you going to know that? I guess that the boss is going to be in a certain phase unless you've played it again and again. So yeah, it's a headache, but I hope that they implement something similar to it, because I do like the idea of like phases of a fight. Like I really like an evolution. It's one of my favorite things about From Software games is that like each boss can have like multiple different variations.
Yeah.
Even after defeat, and switching that up and challenging the player in that way is always a good thing. That's why I brought up Vice's fight being like a culmination of different ideas. So remove stagger altogether until the boss's final phase.
I have a lot of fun with that though.
Yeah, like you can cast stop when they get staggered, and then prevent it from staggering, and take and
if it's an enemy that like the pressure state doesn't last long on too, you can stop the pressured state as well.
Yeah.
So many things.
I found the wrap up. I found it, but it's weird. It says thanks for playing. The PlayStation year-end wrap up has now ended. That's why. All right, hold on.
So you may have to look at it on the actual console. I
will say for everybody who's been tuning in this entire time, thank you guys so much for being here. It's been I know that it's been very lively on the chat end of things. So
thank you.
I appreciate the further discussion, I guess.
Yeah. I saw earlier they were asking me to do the Bugenhagen voice.
Yeah, please
This is my voice with the Bugenhagen.
You do Arnold
Schwarzenegger. Anytime he does like the ho, I do instead.
Yeah, fucking Arnold. That's fucking awesome.
That's
so
great.
Good.
I'm
total polar opposite.
I really hope that's what they do.
I give always anytime like somebody. I was playing okay, it was Xenogears, and somebody was like they didn't like my voice that I gave a character that kind of looks like Blanca, and I was like what's wrong with it? He's like, it's not manly enough, and I'm like, all right, I got you. You know, this guy totally sealed the deal. I'm like, all right, I'll give him the most manliest voice ever. So I gave him like this Indian accent the whole time. I was like just talking like this the whole time as him, and it just became a thing that just every single like game that I play and like I do specific voices for, I'll give like the most OP or badass character the dumbest voice. just to mess with people.
Just to get it across. I love that. I'm always trying to aim for perfection of like, what would this character sound like? And then I realize that like everyone's doing that to a degree. It's like, how would this guy sound like? And it's like, just give him like just the goofiest thing on the planet. I respect it. I'm taking that with me out of this conversation.
Do it, man. Like my things are always I give somebody the Solid Snake voice. I do the Bugenhagen voice or the Indian accent, and female characters I talk in my voice because I cannot go higher than this. Like I've tried when I was younger, I used to be able to do it. I used to talk in a girl voice perfectly fine. Now it's like I can't even do it at all. It's embarrassing.
I just go deeper. Just go deeper. Just push the vocal cards down. Just
hey Cloud, you want to go on a date?
Hey, what are you up to?
Where are my screenshots?
Cloud, you want to drink?
So I'm at 609 hours. And so do you have a PS5?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Let's turn it on. Switch the window.
Switch it.
Straight up delete. That's
so funny. Now that I was thinking about it, we had a Mercedes in here for the voice acting talent. We should take note of these things. I don't know what we would do. I'm just saying, these are pieces. These are puzzle pieces that can form later.
You know it, man.
The recipe is just creating itself here. There's a couple pieces missing, but It's gonna be a masterpiece soon. 100%, 54-54.
You got to do it for your videos.
So
when you're talking about lore.
609 is what I'm at.
609. I gotta imagine since I've taken this screenshot.
You have to have added some,
yeah. Because I went back to do some more builds and boss guides. I finished up the rest of the boss guides. I have all the footage. I'm just editing it. I'm gonna release them like every other day in May.
A lot of what I've been doing is just showing off the USA butterfly to people.
Downstorm, I don't know if I missed this, but thank you so much for being here. And also Crab A. Stream was great, and I sub to both of you. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
I found the original photo. It's 521 hours, and I screenshotted this in February 3rd. But I've played Remake a lot since then, so I would imagine I'm close to 600. I don't know if I crossed over that threshold yet.
So how I had to Google how to do it. So you go to your profile.
Yeah.
Here, I'll just
on the PlayStation, right?
So you turn the console off, and then you unplug it from the wall.
Alt F4. Gotcha.
So you just straight up come over to your name, and everybody knows my name, so it's okay. And then go to profile, and then games.
Okay. Games. 546.
Very respectable, my friend.
546.
Very respectable.
The original Final Fantasy VII have 80 hours. Yeah, Dragon Ball FighterZ, I have 232 hours.
That's awesome.
Modern Warfare 500 Gs.
That's how you do it.
Sweaty COD player.
I actually agreed with you 100% when you said that. I was one of those college dorm room guys who just like fed way too many fucking hours into COD, and I loved it so much.
Final Fantasy 15, I had 551.
I like how this is.
I want to go back and give. I want to go back and give 15 a fair chance again.
Yeah. Okay.
A third fair chance.
We are, in fact, going off the rails a little bit, and I am a little bit running out of time. So let's just see. Is there one more question? Okay. Here's how we're gonna end this. Blitz, ask us a question.
Ask you guys a question, eh?
Please don't let it be anything regarding.
Okay, Blitz, ask us a question about timelines.
I was gonna ask you how did you guys get into, like, how did you guys get into and play Final Fantasy VII?
I'll start. I was 16 when it came out, and it had commercials on the television, and I was like, "That's bananas," and so I bought it immediately, and it changed my life. It was the game of a generation, and like there's nothing like it. Mm-hmm. It was cinematic, told a real story. All the characters were incredible. Like it was the first time that I felt like the games had the potential to be the ultimate form of storytelling. Mm-hmm. I believe that, with my core. So like I have the perspective of being there when it came out, and being like a person with a conscience and feelings and thoughts, because I'm that old. So that is definitely why I got into Final Fantasy VII. Why I got into the Remake community was because Remake blew my brain apart with how ballsy of a choice it made. I was not looking. I'm gonna just be totally honest, and people might not know this. I wasn't looking forward to Remake because I thought it was going to cheapen things by being sort of a remaster. And it ended up being so much more what I wanted. It gave me an opportunity to not know what was happening again. And I never thought I would ever feel that way again, like that level of uncertainty about the future of Cloud's fate ever again. I thought I would get that in 1997, and that was it. So that is why I wanted to create content for Remake in particular.
That's amazing. I thought you were in this from before. I didn't know that like you guys started up all this like within the last year in a sense.
Well, okay, yeah, I actually do have some mythology related content to Final Fantasy VII from before this.
So anything canon? Anything canon as of yet that Remake did? Did they canonize any of your mythological thoughts?
Okay, I actually, you know what, I haven't really got into this yet, but I think they're gonna lean into Vice being more of a symbol of Odin. Yeah, so the Wild Hunt, by the way, is not something that came from The Witcher. The Wild Hunt is a Central European thing, and it's constant through. It was actually kind of popularized by Joseph Grimm, the Brothers Grimm. But the central character is Wodan, which is it's comparative mythology. Wodan is Odin. Long story short, Wodan he's technically its own deity and comes from a different set of beliefs, but they all blend together because they're right next to each other. So they all center around that. The purveyor of the hunt is Wodan or Odin, and I think they're going to lean into that even more so in the remake depiction of him, and then the Ever Crisis depiction of him too. Especially now that Fenrir gets to fight.
Yeah,
Vice. Yeah,
my one of my subscribers just had his baby is 4 days old. He named him Odin.
That's awesome.
It's all the rage right now. Norse mythology, like God of War really helped. American Gods, so yeah.
7 unintentionally, maybe under the surface, did it. For sure. That's awesome. That's an awesome name. That's literally so cool.
Yo, what? The Allfather? Hell yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's somebody who's rocking it.
So how did you get into Final Fantasy VII Sleep?
Never even heard of it.
Brother. I experienced a lot of my game playing because I'm the youngest of, not the youngest of my family, but the youngest of I'm the younger brother. So a lot of the games that I experienced were through the lens of not playing but watching.
Me too.
Yeah, and I love it to death. This is why like playthroughs, let's plays, speed runs, anything like that is like a true way for me to actually just thoroughly enjoy myself. But my cousins
we're built for this generation.
Yeah, I know
how it's going now. Yeah,
it's the people who started doing that. I hope that had that sense about them. That was something that people wanted. So I started there, and a lot of my RPGs were actually digested that way because I didn't necessarily like playing them as much myself. I was just really invested in the story and just watching it unfold. So like Chrono Cross is one game that I love to death, but I've like never actually played. It's beautiful music, and I love like the whole idea of it and the way it was made. How I got into Final Fantasy VII Remake was I played it, and ironically, I'm a huge fan of Maximilian Dude. And he was popping off about, how that game was. And I just couldn't fucking help myself. And I just got really, really, really knee deep into like trying to find the answer to a lot of questions that just didn't make much sense to me based off of what was kind of coming from a bunch of these content creators. So it's actually his perspective on the game that made me get into content creation to begin with. And I was just looking to do something, and it was just like
that's fucking beautiful.
Yeah, it fucking worked out, dude. And I was super, super pleased to hear that there was a similar, I was going to mention this when you brought it up, but I have a very similar feeling about fighting games with him as well. So he definitely, unironically, was somebody that I was like, oh man, like if I could do that, but he was talking about it, so I just did my own thing put my own sort of flavor on it. And now here we are, a year later, almost, and it's been a time. And
it's gonna be a crazy time because we're gonna have nonstop Final Fantasy VII coverage of content, really, for over the next 10 years, maybe more.
Yeah, that Final Fan TV better become an actual channel soon on that television somewhere, because we're gonna have 24-hour content coming.
We've got 7 generations.
Yeah,
of Final Fantasy VII content.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's a really good question, by the way.
That was a great question. Yeah.
How do you feel about it? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
To throw that back.
It's actually kind of hilarious. So like, there's a lot of humor in this story actually. So I didn't play it exactly the same year it came out. It was probably two years after it had came out. I have an older cousin. His name is Kevin. He's turning 38, I think, this year. He is he's the oldest in our family, and my family raised all of us like cousins, like to be like brothers and sisters. So I was like, I followed him around like he had candy on his ass. Like everywhere he went, I went. I was like, we're like best buds. I'm actually emceeing, and I'm his best man at his wedding at the end of this month.
Hell yeah!
So it's gonna be hilarious. I got lots of stories about this dude, but my stream knows all about him. He's like, I owe like Sonic, Metal Gear Solid, Final Fantasy VII. He put me onto all of that stuff, and he told me he used to come over like Friday and then sleep over till Sunday, and his dad would come pick him up and then they would leave.
That's awesome.
And he was like, yo, I got this game Final Fantasy, like we should play it, right? I was like, okay. So I watched him play it, and we were really invested in it. We were like, yo, we're gonna try to beat this in this weekend. We didn't even get through disc 1. But we know life that we played it nonstop, and we just had a blast with that game. And when he went home, he obviously took his game with him. I was like, damn, man, I really want to play that game so bad. So I went up to my mom and I'm like, Mom, can I, can we go get a game real quick? I want to get this Final Fantasy game. So she was like, all right, well, I'll take you on Wednesday or whatever. So Wednesday comes, I'm going to the store to go get it. Back then, didn't have GameStop. We had the swap shop. It's a flea market in Fort Lauderdale. It's a big one. And there was a dude there that sold video games, and he had a cool setup. So we went over there. I was like, what game do you want? I'm like, Final Fantasy. He didn't fucking know what I'm talking about. He says, all right, I'll give you the newest Final Fantasy. So he gave me Final Fantasy 8. I didn't realize it wasn't 7. So I was like, I was happy as hell. I was like, yo, I got this game. I'm going home. I get home, pop it in. I'm like,
what is this?
The scene looks different. All right, maybe Cloud shows up. Maybe my cousin skipped this video. And I started playing, and I'm like, wait. These are kids. Like they're in a school. Yeah. What? This guy has a gunblade. What is this?
Yeah, and that guy's supposed to be the most handsome guy around.
Rest in peace. That meme with Remaster.
I know,
man. I was terrified to tell my mom that you just spent $50 on the wrong game.
I've had that experience too. You do not want to open your mouth on that stuff. It's like, oh man, I feel so bad. I was shook. And so my cousin called me on Thursday, the next day, and he's like, yo, I heard that you got the Final Fantasy game. And I'm like, I think I got the wrong one. I don't think I got the one you got. And he was like, yo, well, I just beat 7. So when I come over on Friday, we'll swap copies. So I gave him 8 and he gave me his 7, and I played it nonstop without a memory card. And every night my mom would turn off my console and I have to redo the bombing run every single day until my uncle felt sorry and bought me a memory card. That's amazing.
That's great.
Well, that's how I got into it, man. And the series is just been, after that, I got back 8 from him, played 8, loved it. Got back, bought 9, played 9, loved it. And 10 was my first PS2 game.
Yeah, it was a lot of people's introduction into honestly, Final Fantasies are that powerful that they're often the reason people buy consoles.
Mm-hmm.
It's why I have a PS4 and a PS5.
Yeah. Same. Fuck, dude. They just got me so quick. I wasn't expecting it. It's all happened so fast. They dropped Yuffie. That was it. That's all I needed. Deep Ground didn't help either. But
I'll never forget that state of play. I actually got lightheaded from how much I was screaming.
I know. It was I couldn't fucking help myself, dude. I just lost it. I unraveled for some reason. I feel like something came true that wasn't supposed to ever really manifest in real life. Watching that, I was just like, what is... I'm going to wake up is everything I would say. Every moment I'd just be like, I'm going to wake up. This cannot be fucking real that this is happening.
Did your hair grow back? Sleepezi?
Yeah, it did.
Jeez.
I told you, dude.
You're a
this
grower.
Is how it is. I am. Yep, that's right. There's a joke in there that I was about to say, but I think we
all got it
telepathically.
No, you
like that with my beard.
Yeah.
Your beard is fantastic,
Yeah,
by the way.
Both
of your beards are quite lovely, but I will say that
mine's a day, just a day of growth.
It's the Indian genes.
Yeah, dude. But it's beautiful. It's just beautiful. I can't grow one that's consistent. It's just like I'm a drunk Irishman in a bar. That's unfortunately what for some reason is speckled with like ginger, like red. I'm just like, this is just not working for me, dude. But you know.
And off chat, we did mention that you have great teeth as well, Blitz. While you were away getting water.
Fantastic.
Oh, thanks.
Incredible, yeah.
I have had the worst luck with teeth growing up. Even recently. Remember I told you I went to Puerto Rico recently?
Oh my god. Did you have a teeth debacle in Puerto Rico?
I have a permanent retainer on my bottom row. And my top, I had braces growing up, and I lost my top retainer. But I've always had cavities and root canals. Like, it was like a regular thing. Like, I eat lots of candy, and actually I have a Fun Dip right here, just waiting to like munch on after the stream is done right here.
Yeah, you gotta refill, man. This is taking it out of us. We're like almost 4 hours. Yeah.
I went to in Puerto Rico. I don't know why I kept this, but like we had fried pork, and it was super crunchy. It chipped my molar. It chipped my molar, and this is my like filling from like this is like I had this filling probably.
How did you make it through customs with that?
That's a good question. I put it in a Ziploc bag. I don't.
Just like,
I didn't think about that.
Move along.
Yeah, you know, I got my COVID like test results and stuff, and they almost let me go without looking at it. I was like, wait, y'all don't want to see my results? They're like, oh yeah, come back here, and I'm like, wow, okay.
Glad that this all works out for everybody. This is how this goes.
So,
you just have to say yes.
This filling is as old as this is probably from when I first played Final Fantasy VII.
Jesus Christ, that's as old as the game cartridges.
As is my way, I have gone an hour and 40 minutes over, and so I do have to call this a night. But
hey, I appreciate all of this, guys. Like, I remember when we spoke, you said, "Don't worry, it won't." You were like, "Don't worry, it won't get crazy like the previous stream was." And I'm like, "Oh no, man! When we get into a conversation, we can get into a conversation." And I had an absolute blast.
I had a blast, absolutely. You're just a pleasure, everybody. And I just so you know, you have a standing invitation on this show anytime. Like if you see a guest coming up in the pop line and you have some things to say to that person, the spicier the better. You let me know.
Particularly if you want to pick a necessary bone with them, that would be great.
But I know that with you that means that you're gonna do so in a positive way that comports yourself as a generous member of the community like you are. So I can't thank you enough for being here, Blitz, and it's been a pleasure to get to know you more. And Sleepezi, you know I love you, and thank you again for all your time, all of you. I don't know how to end streams well, and so what I'm gonna do is say goodbye to everybody, and then just raid. So none of my friends, and of course, none of my friends are online. Okay, great. Who am I raiding, guys?
God, I don't have anybody on that I know either at the moment. But
okay, let's just
Caleb.
pick.
Caleb Hart is on right now.
I was thinking the same thing. That was the person I was looking at.
Okay, let's do it.
That'd be great. I'm watching him anyway, so. Thank you, by the way. It was super fun, everybody. I super enjoyed our conversation. So.
It's been a blast. I definitely look forward to way more of these for sure. This was a hell of a lot of fun. And as like we were saying before, we're gonna have crazy content over the next 10 years, and I'm happy to be a part of this SEAL Team 7 because I know for a fact, and in my heart of hearts, I feel like this is going to be a big thing, especially within the Final Fantasy community. And it's just a pleasure being a part of it. and I'm looking forward to the growing phases, especially from both of you guys.
Somebody give me the Caleb Hart full spelling.
I'll just copy and paste it right here.
There you go.
It should just be.
Yeah, our streams usually go on for 7 hours, Andrew.
I saw that too. I was like, everybody's used to it.
Okay, got it.
We're definitely doing the first soldier stuff. So get the SEAL Team
right.
7.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Dubs on dubs on dubs. I promise y'all, you're getting 10 dubs that night.
You guys are amazing.
I love all of you.
Thank you, everybody in chat as well. Super great.
7 seconds, 6 seconds. Everything's great. Fantastic. Everything. Thank you, Bad Dragon, for sponsoring this.
Gatesith will be great, by the way. I saw that question.
Hope you all have a great night.
That's so crazy. Dude, that was amazing. I loved it.
You're great. You're great.
Yeah, thank you guys so much, yo. You guys are fucking special. Like this is it's amazing what video games do to people. You know, it takes especially during this time where like we obviously can't go out and like hang out with each other, or we live across the country type of thing. You know, like we can find ways to connect and just it's amazing. It's an amazing experience, and I'm glad that like, you know, there's other people out there like me that are obsessed over this game and love everything about it.
That's exactly how I feel about it, and